Okay, so we're here live, and I've got Fred Kanney, a Virginia Bigfoot researcher. How you doing today, Fred?
I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
It's hard. A little bit tired, being working a bit today.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine.
I seen you went out today.
Yeah, we went out today. We found some new structures. And we did a lot of our usual, Facebook Live and everything. So we're still going over the Facebook Live, the panoramic. Somebody forgot to hit the button, but that's all right. No, it's nothing to see anyway. I don't think we've seen any, but we heard a lot of it and everything.
Yeah, man, I've done that a few times. Go out and actually, I did it the other day. I've I've hit the button and then hit it again, and I'm sitting there trying to do a video and talking away or whatever, and trying to say something, and look down, I'm not even recording. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
But well, why don't you tell us about a little bit about yourself? What got you interested in Bigfoot?
In 1976, my dad took us to the Wayne Theater, and we watched the Discovery of Bigfoot, one of those movies. And I got curious, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine, So after that, I didn't pay attention. And 1981 was living over in Highland County. Well, me and my dad was, and I decided to go hunting one day, so I kind of bebopped up on Jack Mountain, But we had just got back from West Virginia, or from Stanton, from buying a four-wheeler. So Daddy and his buddies were playing around with them. I decided to go hunting, so I went up on the mountain. Well, walking up the road to it, and I stopped and lit a cigarette. I was standing there looking at them. And about 5 minutes later, I put the cigarette out, and I turned around to continue up the hill. And when I did, I turned around, and about 5 feet behind me was a 9-foot bipedal, standing there looking at me. Yeah, chocolate. He had a kind of a light chocolate brown face. His eyes were walnut brown, and he was kind of a brownish, grayish, blackish color. Because when I turned around and looked, I was looking right at his chest, and I looked up at him. He looked out at me, and I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna rip me to shreds. But I looked at him from his head down to his toe and back up, and he did the same to me. But the expression on his face was like, okay, so this really human looks like up close. Meantime, I turned my head. I said, this guy's going to rip me to threads. And I heard, about a second later, I heard him walk around me, head back around. He started walking off, So that kind of got me curious, But I didn't see any more till about 85 or 86, when I was up here in my research area, before my research area. And we had a female started screaming at us one night, throwing rocks at us. What happened was, me and a girl were riding around through there, and we decided, to take our car in there and chase a few deer, and I went around the back, come around the front. When I did, I hit a pipe that was in the middle of the field, and I got hung up. Well, about 1 o'clock in the morning, we was trying to figure out how to get out of there because we were by ourselves, and I luckily caught a friend of mine traveling up the dirt road, so I called him in. He pulled up back. It's about 2 o'clock then, and we were standing there, and all of a sudden we heard some scream. We heard rocks being thrown at us, big rocks. We're like, what the hell? And all of a sudden it sounded like a banshee hen screaming. We heard tree snaps and everything. We were freaking out. We didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Well, about maybe 8 minutes into it, she took off. It took off running, and I told the girls in the car, I said, hit the headlights, which she did. It was a 8-foot reddish brown female bipedal running across in front of us, went over to it. She was heading right toward my camp, toward my camp and everything. And I'm like, okay, so those two things right there from 81 to 85 really got me into it, But I've been seeing them or dealing with them off and on since 81, but I never really, like every time I go hunting in my area, I've always got them following me. Basically, they migrate in my area. They migrate, they come in about around the spring or first week of spring to birthing beds, because this is something I found out. A Squatch will always come back to the place they were born to give birth or for their partners to give birth. Now, we have 9 birthing beds in my area that I've found so far. And we got 2 right behind my camp. And everybody's been wanting me to go down and take pictures. Well, Connie's an empath, and they're telling her, don't go to the birthing beds. We stay on top of the ridge, because they're down like in a hollow across the creek going up, on the other side, so we respect them, but they follow. I mean, for years, I've got video of them following me, everywhere I go back there, and all they're doing is just, they just do their thing, but I researched through the ancient ways, and by learning through them, by learning through the ancient ways, and by watching and learning from the Squatches themselves, of what they leave behind. That's how I learned. I learned about what they leave behind and use the native hieroglyphs and stuff like that, And now I'm just now starting to learn the language, the ancient dialect language. And that's something people don't really realize that they actually do, because when Ron Moore had come out, everybody started listening to this guy from the Navy saying, well, he went to the Sierra Sound and he heard this, and he said they had a language of their own. I'm like, okay. So a couple of years later, I decided to give it a shot. So I listened to it and everything, and I figured, okay, they got a language. It sounds like an ancient native language. So some people that live in my area sent me some audio, and I slowed it down. And but before I did, I started researching and found out that the Cherokees used to be the Iroquois, the Pamunkey used to be in my area. So I decided to go to the Cherokee, and I started researching the ancient dialect language. So one day I started piddling around, and I wrote it down syllable for syllable, and it said O-C-O-E-I-N-I-H-A. So I went over to the ancient dialect language, and what it says is O-C-O means hello, E-I means I'm your friend, and N-I-H-A means I mean you no harm. So I started using that when I go in, and all of a sudden, bam, I started getting reactions. I started getting responses.
You said something about they migrate?
Yeah. In my area, they migrate every year because they come in, they raise you young. When they get big enough, they migrate because, I guess, because of hunting season. Because by rifle season, they're all gone out of the area. We got one big one that stays. And he stays on top of the mountain, in the thickest part. Because the Shenandoah Valley, like where my research area is, by way of crow flies, is 2 minutes from the Blue Ridge Parkway and 3 minutes from the Appalachian Trail. They migrate up and down the Appalachian Trail, up and down the East Coast, but they come over my area, inside the Blue Ridge Parkway, inside the Shenandoah Valley to give birth, because the mountain laurel is so thick at the top and going down toward the bottom, and plus we have plenty of wild game. We got, I can't tell you how many acres, thousands of acres of blueberries when it's time to come in, so we got food source, got the shelter and got the cover and everything, and we got plenty of water, so they come in and they have birthing beds set up.
Well, where do you think they migrate from, and what time of the year? Do you think they're
I have no idea. I don't know if they go down toward North Carolina. I don't know if they go up toward New York. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. They might go over to West Virginia. I have no idea. But the only thing I do know is when they come back is around the first week of spring.
Okay. What's the elevation there? Because I know you're in the big mountains. I'm in the foothills over here in eastern Kentucky, and I'm from West Virginia, where the mountains were bigger.
I really don't know my elevation because I don't pay attention to it. Right. The only thing I know about Shenandoah Valley is it's one gigantic, massive volcano.
Oh, it's a beautiful place. I mean, I've been through there, like going to the beach and stuff. I've been through there. Man, those are huge mountains, and they're awesome.
Well,
But
you can get on my roof and do a 360, and you see mountains all the way around you.
right, right. I mean, that's just right north of the Smoky Mountains. That part of the range. I mean, they're all the Appalachian Mountains, but they got different ranges or whatever.
Yep,
But
yep.
I know here. I mean, they're like around my place. They're here year round. Basically, they're not like my farm's 200 acres, but
Well,
they're not always
yours is,
on my farm.
okay.
You know, they do like a circuit. It seems like I'll hear them in different places, and then they'll come by here. And this is, I don't know. I think they follow the food. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they do follow food, but I do know in your area it's generational.
Well, if they,
Yours live on your property or the guy's property next to you.
oh yeah, they're, man, I think I've found signs of this same plan, and the reason I say this is because I found pretty much the same track sizes and stuff out
Uh,
at the lake. And the lake, as the crow flies, is where I found these at is I think 8 miles away.
yeah,
It takes it's longer. It's a longer drive, of course, going through the
yeah,
mountains. But
yeah. Now, like in Connie's area in Kentucky, they live on private property. It's Connie's family's property. It's like over 300. It's over 300 acres. He's been strip mined, and there's at least 7 clans that live there. And we heard the big Kahuna one night. He was a quarter mile away when he yelled. Now we had squatches all the way around us that night, but when that big boy yelled, we could feel the vibration go through our bodies, and there wasn't a squatch in sight. So we know, but she's got photographs and videos of squatches, in her area, in Kentucky. Now she lives in Lee County, Kentucky, a place called Beattyville.
yeah, that's west of me.
Yeah. Now hers are generational. Yours are generational. Mine, they migrate. Now, there are people up and down here in Virginia and going down North Carolina, going up there. People do have squatters living on their property. But here's the funny thing. Every place that they live on private property is no hunting. No hunting allowed. And the squatters know they're safe there. They're
Yeah,
smart.
yeah. Well, I've kind of noticed something like that here on uh, on the farm, like during hunting season. A lot of times they would come in here.
Yeah. Now, if you bow hunt, they don't mind that. Because, here's something I learned. My first deer I've killed with a bow, with a crossbow, the squatches took my deer. I couldn't find my arrow, but the next day I come back, I find my arrow, my 16-inch bolt, laying on the side of the trail that the deer went down.
Uh-huh.
And you can see thumb and the first finger that pulled the arrow out. I shot it right through the shoulder into the heart, and they pulled out and laid it down. But we found where they deer laid down at, and then some picked it up, and you can see 6-foot strides taking it away. So it's okay. But when I shot one with a rifle, they will not mess with it.
I've shot deer before, and I got this from another old school researcher. I'll take the liver and the heart and the kidneys and stuff and set them up on a rock or a log, and the rest of the
Yeah.
gut pile will lay on the ground.
Yeah.
And this has happened a few times now, but the heart and the liver and the kidneys will go like quickly, and
Yeah.
then the rest of the gut piles will still be there, which I always thought was pretty interesting. But somebody told me that it was a respect thing that they
Yeah.
would where it's setting up off the ground.
Yeah.
That's why they get that. So, and it's happened a couple of times. So I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with like respect, basically. I don't trust them, and I don't I'm not trying to feed them. That's what basically got it started here was they're getting in my dog's food and stuff, that and the timbering and all that. But yeah,
Have you ever noticed that during the winter time, your dogs have a lot of deer bones?
yeah, I get deer skeletons brought in here quite often.
Well, here's the thing about it. Like Connie's area in Kentucky, the deer, the squatches would take and throw the bones because you can sit on their front porch and the squatches will be right there on the side of the ridge looking at you, you know, and they take the bones from the deer and throw them over the yards and give them to the dog. That's what they're doing in your area. When they kill a deer, they give them the bones.
Yeah, they've done that quite a few times. I mean, I found deer up in the trees here in my yard out here in the I got a bunch of deer skulls. They bring deer skulls in here. They brought deer, not like the skeletal remains, not the meat. I mean, there's a little bit of meat and stuff left on them, but the whole carcass will be brought down here, and it's crazy. Sometimes it's up in trees. Sometimes I find it out in the yard.
Yeah, it's a gift. They're leaving you a gift saying, "Hey, we killed a deer." Now you do know that they're an ambush predator. Okay, you do know they're an ambush predator, but they do drive just like us humans do. We have drivers and standers. And when a deer chase, when the squatches chase the deer into an area, the squatches will take off after them and break a leg and stop running and let the deer just keep going. And then they'll go after they got so many, you know, then they'll just go up to the deer, you know, and kill them because they can't go anywhere because their legs are broken. Usually it's either the back leg or one of the front legs.
Yeah, a couple of the deer that's been brought in here has had a broken back and broken legs. One of the first ones that was brought here had both. Its back leg was broken and its back was broken.
Yeah.
And I found sign. I call them kill boxes. They'll like bend over smaller trees and make like an obstacle course type, like a fence type deal, and then they'll build a blind.
Yeah, they corral them in. There was a guy out in Oklahoma. He's got a big family living on his property, and he said his sons was out they're cattle. You know, he owns a cattle farm, but they ride horses, and he said they were bringing in cattle one day, and they seen 5 squatches chasing deer. It was all on a line, and all of a sudden they went from a line into a V shape and corralled them right into one area in the woods and everything.
Yeah.
And then he said after that you hear all hell break loose in the woods.
Oh yeah, dude. There's one woman that's got a video up, and I love her channel. She gets the best audio ever. It's Bigfoot Research. I'll send you a link to the video I'm talking about. But she's got one that sounds like the deer. You can hear the deer blowing and everything.
Well, me and Connie was camping in her area. We right down below, about 200 yards down below us, our camp there. There's a power line, and we heard a bunch of squatches chase a deer, and they sounded like they yipping and yapping, sound like coyotes, you know. But there's no coyotes in her area, none. You know, but you can hear them, and they were going, and they were chasing that deer. A week later, Connie found that carcass. Wasn't nothing left on it, but she found the carcass from that deer drive. That's what squatches do. Now here's how they do it. Paul Halsey showed me this in Connie's area. We went around toward the back side of the ridge next to the camp, and we found this one spot where a squatch was sitting. His butt was 4 foot. His butt was 3 foot wide. His butt was 3 foot wide. You can see where he's leaning back against a tree, and about 4 foot down, you can see where his heels were sunk into the leaves. And he was sitting on a rubber tree. And he said, "What they're doing, this is the main one." And got the others down below him, and squatches on each side of the power line. And when that deer comes in, he'll whistle once. That tells the other ones that a deer's coming. Then when you hear 2 whistles, all hell breaks loose. And the day we heard that them squatches take off after that deer, that's what we heard. We heard 1 whistle, then we heard 2 whistles, and all hell broke loose.
Yeah. I think it was 2 winters ago I found, and I found tracks. It was deer tracks and booger tracks right behind it. And you could you can tell a lot from tracks. And both of them was on the move. I mean, both of them was running. And it went right down to a kill box, and there's a blind there.
Yeah.
And basically what I found was deer blood and fur on the side of a tree. And then I found the rest of the deer. It was on down. I mean, they had got this deer and just tore it up, and they actually brought it down in the yard later. But yeah, I found where they've chased them, and it looked like, I mean, it just chased it to the kill box. And I don't know if the kill box is to corral it or to confuse it or to divert its attention or whatever, or maybe all 3. But I mean, it looked like this deer had a broke back leg and it looked like it'd been smacked up against a tree because there's just blood and deer hair stuck to the side of the tree. And it's all on video. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I found something like that one time in my area. I was thinking like, what the hell would trash a deer up against? I mean, I seen bone, I seen chunks of hair, blood. I mean, it looked like he's trying to break a baseball bat against a tree. It looked like it wrapped it around the tree. I've seen that one time, man. And I say, it blew my mind for a long time. Wow, but it's very rare I find stuff. Very, very, very rare I find stuff like that. But
Yeah.
they have different ways of hunting too. Like when they want to eat fish. Right behind we got a stream that runs right down beside my camp, and you can go back probably about a couple hundred yards farther back, and you see this one area where logs can fall over the stream, and it's about 2 foot, 3 foot deep there, and they got the upper end blocked, and you can see and they got sticks on each side, and you can see where they bring the fish in, and they can block them in there, and they catch them that way.
Yeah, I've never seen that here. Of course, we've only got this little stream, and I haven't really looked at the main creek that comes out of the main holler here. But I have found around these, there's a lake, and they drain the water down in the wintertime. I find piles of shells from freshwater oysters or clams or whatever.
Yeah, we find a lot of that. We find a lot of that. But the stream that's in our area, the mountain streams, they're like ice cold all year round. We got natural natives in there. We got some places at the game commission stock rainbows, or something like that, or tiger trout, or something like that. But mostly it's all natural natives.
I guess
about 6 to 8 inches long.
Yeah, the finger trout.
Right.
The mountain trout. Yeah.
Yeah, because we got a little swimming hole around the other side. We got a pipe that goes underneath the road that the stream flows through, and right on the other side we got a swimming hole, and I can go in there and just cast out right where the water's swirling in the middle and catch them all day long there and everything. But we found little snails. Now a lot of people don't know that coons would take and wash the food. People see, they find these little, like you say, little oysters or little snail and everything.
Uh-huh. Uh-oh.
And what they'll do, a coon has to wash his food to soften his food up because they have no saliva glands. And that's some people don't realize why a coon does that, because we find them all over the place.
A coon don't have saliva glands?
No, they don't.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, possum the same way, So when you see them washing their food, they're not washing it; they're softening it up. So when they eat it, they can get the moisture.
They're kind of like that Joey Chestnut does at the hot dog eating competition.
Yeah, basically.
You ever see that they drink up water with the hot dogs to eat them faster or whatever? But yeah, I mean, I didn't know that. I'll look that up. That's interesting. But
Okay.
do you whenever you've got your camp, how often do you camp up there?
We try to camp out all we can during the summer. So this year we're going to be camping 21 days.
I know.
After we finish here, we're going to Vesuvius, to another spot that we got squatches in. We're going to camp out for about 3 to 5 days there in the mountains. It's just further back up in the mountains.
Yeah.
And everything,
Well, I'm curious how you would know that they migrate though, because I don't understand why would they migrate? What would be the point in that?
They've been doing it for years, let me see. Well, one reason they migrate out of here is because during hunting season. We got small game, then we got bow, then we got black powder, then we got rifle.
Are you?
And
Is your area in a? Is it a national forest or a?
yeah, yes,
Okay.
George Washington National Forest.
But and people can hunt in there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, see, that makes sense to me because I've got another friend that's down in Arkansas, and she lives beside of a military base, and they do war games or whatever you call it, exercises. And whenever they do that, the boogers will live on that base until they start letting off the bombs and shooting the guns. Then they'll move off, and she's having activity right now. And I mean, I guess that's a form of migration, but I don't see how. I mean, how would you know that they go to New York or wherever? How do you know they're not just going, 25 miles down the road or moving further back in the mountains? You know what I mean? Because
You know what? Well, that's the part. Excuse me. That's the part I'm trying to figure out myself because we know they leave, but I don't know where they go. That's because I asked a lot of people, that there's a lot of people out there, who research the same way I do, and they know they're a little more knowledgeable than I am as far as the squashes go, But I asked them the same question, and they can't give me an answer either.
Well, see here, 2 years ago, which there's a lot of private land here. My farm is completely surrounded by a hunting club. And in this hunting club, there's anywhere from 6 to 8 guys that come in. They'll turkey hunt or deer hunt or, whatever. And most of the time, there's only 4 or 5 of them that come in. Like during, say, deer rifle season, all of them will be there just about. And a lot of times, whenever they're in there, they've got thousands of acres. I mean, thousands. They've got a big old spread. And then butted up to that is my uncle's. And then butted up to that, I guess it's Kentucky, the state had bought up a bunch of property for watersheds because there was a whole lot of strip mining that went on around here back in the 80s. But anyway, they bought up all that land. But I've noticed during the hunting seasons, there's a couple of smaller farms that's mixed in here and there, and people will come in, and I'll get increase in activity, and it pushes them in. If you put people out in the woods, that's going to move them. So a couple summers ago, I tried to figure out exactly that pattern, and they would come here every 3 weeks. I mean, I could just about mark it on the calendar what day they would show up here. And I was, within a day or two, and it was every 3 weeks, and they would stay around for 4, 5, 6 days. Then they would be gone again. And so I started listening at night, sitting out on the porch listening, and you can hear them. And I would go to that place, the first opportunity I have, I'd go over there, and you could find all kinds of fresh sign and stuff like that. And I kind of got the pattern. But then, I mean, dude, it's like every time I figure out something or think I got something figured out, they trick me and they do something different. So,
well, here they'll come in the spring and they'll leave, and they'll start kind of filtering out by the time black powder gets here, because we found out that they do not like loud noises. See, we got a place a couple miles down the road, or before you get in there, it's called Shenandoah Acres Resort. And every 4th of July, they have a big fireworks session. And we've noticed whenever they have that, we see the squatches hauling butt. And Connie used my night vision binocular one night, and her running, so she looked back behind the camp or on the other side of the creek, and you can see them running toward the back. They're headed toward the mountain because the loud noise scares them. That's something we did find out. They do not like loud noises, whether it be a gun or fireworks. They don't like it. And I guarantee you, if you go into your area and you let off about 45 or 50 M80s, your squashes will be on another guy's property in about 3 seconds. But they'll come back later on. It's just the loud noises they don't like.
Right.
A lot of people can't understand that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I understand that, dude, because I've got a friend that's got a karaoke system, and he used to blare it all the time. and they started rocking his trailer. They'd thrown rocks whenever we'd been up there, and he would listen to this stuff uh, loud. And they would. It seems like it would make them mad. I also think they don't like the 4 wheelers and stuff going around at night.
Yeah. Now you finding Bigfoot. They would do call blasting. They say, oh, it works. Then you had a 16-year-old kid. He would do call blasting and everything, and I tell everybody, why do you want to call blast? I mean, if I'm an 18-foot tall dominant male, that's the leader of a clan, and all of a sudden I heard something yelling that sounds louder than me, you think I'm gonna stick around? I'm getting out of Dodge. And people don't understand that. Like,
well, I think they've got more sensitive ears. We listen to music, shoot guns, we're exposed to loud noises, so that impairs our hearing. Where they depend on their hearing a lot for survival. I mean, they have to depend on their senses for survival. I mean, so you take somebody going by and making loud noise. That might have been another thing that triggered them here with timbering was the loud noises from the equipment and stuff. It just made them mad. But yeah, I definitely don't think that they like loud noises.
And I'll tell you something else a lot of people mess up on. When you hear people go in and say, I'm going to do a tree knock, and all of a sudden they say, oh, I got a response back. What they don't realize is if they just listen for about a minute more, they'll hear a knock on the other side of them.
Well, I've done tree knocks here before, and whenever I first started doing them, I would get responses. I rarely get a response from a tree knock now, or like I'll do a call sometimes, and pretty much now I'm just saying howdy. But you know what I mean? It's it's.
But if you take and you go into an area and you do one big massive loud tree knock, yeah, you will hear another tree knock. But if you listen on the opposite side of you, you will hear another knock further up the trail or up on the ridge. What they're doing is they're communicating between each other about you. They're saying, hey, there's a human in here. Like when you go down a trail and all of a sudden you hear a little on one side and all of a sudden you hear on the other side. And everybody say, oh, it's a woodpecker. But you notice the woodpeckers are following you.
Yeah,
they're realize is that you're being parallel because they're giving their location away where they're at. But being a human, you don't think about that.
Yeah, I think they communicate like that. Several times I pulled in here and like whenever they're on the property, and I'll get a whistle or even a whoop or something right here close to the house, and then up the holler you'll hear a knock.
Yep.
Like pretty much like they're saying he's home, and the other one's like Roger that.
But that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I was going to tell you though. I just googled that thing about the raccoon.
Yeah.
And according to WelcomeWildlife.com, research has since shown that raccoons have normal saliva glands. Research has shown that captive raccoons do douse their food if water is not made available. So basically what it's saying is they do have saliva glands, but they use the water depending on where the water source is. They'll use the water kind of like the hot dog eating contest to soften their food.
Yeah,
but I mean,
we used to have a pet coon, and we always had to stick a bowl of water in his cage with him. And every time he would eat, he would take it over and douse it. And that's what and that's where I come up with it at.
Well, I guess everybody likes a little drink with their food, right?
Well, I'll tell you what, you ever see me eat crackers? They'll take a cracker over and dip it in there and start munching on it and everything.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a dry food. They're going to moisten it down. But let's see, what else was it? But yeah, I guess they do have it, but they will use the water to help them eat.
Yeah.
But anyway.
People really don't know that, when you go in the woods, you have each clan has got day watchers. You ever seen that show called The Meerkats?
Yeah.
Okay, you see how they got day watchers all standing around everywhere?
Yeah.
That's what the Squatches have. They have day watchers. And what they do now in my area, I can go into one spot, let's say like behind my camp, and go walk this back trail, and I'll hear a dove sound to my left. Now I don't have it. Most of the doves that we have are in cornfields, which are rock doves or whatever, you know. But we very, very rarely ever hear a dove in my area. But when I hear one, I think, okay, it might be a dove. But the further down that trail I walk, that dove will get louder. So one day I went Facebook Live and said, okay, I got a squatch over to my left. Now what he's going to do, he's going to draw. I got a family unit right in front of me somewhere, so he's going to draw me away. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to follow him. And I was still on Facebook Live that day, and I said, all right, I'm going to take a left. I went up to this X, and went to an X in my spot there, right behind the camp, and I started to follow that dove sound. The closer I got to the sound, the further it got away. He got me about 500 yards away from the clan. Then he stopped, and you hear him run back toward the clan. They do that. You ever seen a killed ear bird? Acts like he lays his egg out in the open.
Yeah.
And then when a predator comes around, he acts like his wing's broken and draws you away.
Right.
Well, that's what a squatch does. The day watchers, they draw you away from the family unit. Very good idea. You know, but they do it in different ways. It's what most people don't know is, you know.
Well, going back to the day watchers, I think that they do that also. I've got places around the house, and I can go out and point to 4 of them right now that I can see with the leaves off, especially. And I think whenever they're here on the property, I think it's mostly juveniles because they like to mess with me a lot. But I call them human observation posts because it's in direct eye line of where I sit. Like if I'm on the back porch, I can point out 2 of them from where I see it. If I'm sitting out at the concrete picnic table, I can point out 2 more. And then there's more up above the garden and stuff. But yeah, it's like if they're in the area, they've got eyes on that house to see what you're up to.
Yeah. That's the way they all run my camp. We got 2 day watchers that stay behind the camp, but across the road and all around, they have different spots where they can sit there all day and watch me or watch Kanney. Now, one thing we did have happen, and we're starting to notice it more. Whenever I leave the camp to go to a store to get something, a 10-footer will walk out across the road and stand there just inside the wood line behind this camp and stand there, and she'll have 2 juveniles over to the left and to the right on each side of the camp watch her. And then when I come back, when they see me pull into the camp, they all go about their business again. They leave because they see I'm back, but they just kind of like the one across the road would kind of like fade back and back to whatever they're doing, We've noticed that. Connie's noticed that every time I leave the camp, she always sees that same one squash come out inside the wood line and sit there and watch the camp.
Check out what you're doing.
Huh?
Check out what you're doing. And that makes I've noticed stuff like that here too because there's been several times that I've been out here and they'll start up and I'll go live. I try to go live a lot whenever it gets active around here.
Yeah.
And they'll sit around, they'll mess with you for a few minutes to an hour to whatever, and it depends on I guess what type of mood they're in. But these guys have to go out and make a living too, and they gotta go find their food and stuff. But they'll use misdirection. It's crazy how they act sometimes. Like one of them will start making a bunch of noise, and you go over there to try to check it out, and then another one behind you will start doing stuff, and they'll they'll have you running back and forth like crazy, and then it just all stops.
It's a game they play. They play it, like whenever I will walk down a trail and they throw a rock at me, I'll pick up that same rock and go, hey, you dropped this, and just kind of like lob it back to just keep on. I won't even turn around. I'll pick it up, look at it. Just kind of lock back, say, "Hey, you dropped this." Keep on going down the trail. You know, to them, to the juveniles, that's a game. You just made a friend for life. So whenever you come back in the area, you're gonna have the same ones chucking rocks at you. You know, it's kind of like they're observing you or learning from you while you're learning from them. They'll throw rocks at you to see what your response will be. And a lot of people don't realize that. You know, they're not out to hurt you. Like one guy said today, "Why ain't you carrying a gun?" I mean, what happens if a mountain lion jumps out and attacks you? What if a bear comes after you? Well, number one, I'm not scared of either one. And number two, the mountain lions are up on top of the mountain. And if a bear smells you in my area, he's gone the other direction about 100 miles an hour because people running bear dogs.
I don't know, dude. I pack a gun, but I mean, it's not definitely not for the boogers. But I mean, there's packs of coyotes around. Heck, I've seen wolves. I've seen big cats. And I mean, you never know, dude. That you're liable to go out and break your leg, and that gun could be a lifesaver. Basically, I mean, you can fire your shot and let somebody know where you're at. And,
here's the thing about it. During hunt seasons, like squirrel and turkey and stuff like that, you know, when I'm hunting out there, you know, like squirrel season or you know, all the way up, you know, you know, or during warm weather, whatever. What I'll do is I'll take and go in and say, "Okay, guys, I'm going squirrel hunting, you know, and I got us a, you know, this year I just used an air rifle to go squirrel hunt, you know, and I pull the trigger, and you hear poof, and they don't worry about that, you know, or I'll see I got a 22 and I'll pop a 22. It don't sound loud, and they know what I'm doing because I told them exactly what I'm doing. You know, I'll go in and I'll sit down, you know, and I'll make some calls, something like that, you know, or I'll walk around, but they'll still follow me around because they know that when I sit down in a tree, what I'll do is to set the gun down next to me, next to a tree next to me, and I'll turn my back to the gun. That tells them that I mean no harm.
Right. Someone's asking, do you think that they can throw their voices?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
I don't know on that either. I mean, I know they can mimic about any critter out there. Like, I get them, they'll come in here sometimes and sound like a barred owl, but the end of that owl call is different. They don't have that trill at the end. And I've heard a mimic English, straight up English. I heard one holler help one time, and it creeps me out to this day, especially that word, holler help.
Here's the thing about it. They don't mimic words. They can speak English just fine. They prefer to speak the old language. English is a new language to them. They can speak it because we've heard them talk quite a few times in my area. You know, we've heard them talking back and forth about me and Kanney, you know, and they're speaking English. They don't mimic. They speak it like they speak the ancient dialect language, like Oco, Ia, Niha, Oco, Oshi, Kwasu, Aganate. That's old dialect language.
So you think they understand English? You think they? I mean,
yeah, they definitely do understand English.
Well, that's really creepy because the one that if it knows that it's hollering help, and it's, people holler help, so somebody will come and help them. So if a booger's hollering that and wanting you to come in the woods or whatever, that's really creepy.
I'll tell you this much. In Kanney's area, she heard like I heard it too. We was up there the first night I was there. We was sitting there at camp, and I seen one about 30 yards behind her, kind of peeking out from the tree. And I told Kanney, I said, "You want to see one act like a 2-year-old?" She said, "Yeah." I told her to turn around, and she did. And I showed her and said, "I see you." That Squatch acting like a 2-year-old, stomping, growling, running, breaking limbs and everything right in the open. And then he stomped off. But about 2 minutes later, we heard a brand new baby. It sounded like a human baby, screaming, whining.
Really?
When they give birth, they sound identical to a human baby. Because you're thinking, why would someone be having a human baby out here in the woods?
Yeah,
They are human hybrids.
You know, a lot of people, I don't know what they are. I mean, I have no idea what they are, but I've seen like DNA studies done by like Melba Ketchum. I know we talked about her earlier, and I think that she just got a bad deal from the Bigfoot community, just to be honest about it. But her DNA results were interesting, and Brian Forrester and L.A. Marzulli and a couple other fellas did DNA on the long-headed skulls they found down in Peru, and they came up with very similar results. And it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder what you're dealing with because they've got a sense of humor. They can figure out problems. You was talking about the languages. I've heard. It wasn't English, and it might have been some type of Native American talk, but I've heard it here. We've heard it a few times on the live streams, and I've heard something else too. And I don't know if you've ever heard like over in Africa, they got like a bush tribe, and they talk with a series of pops and clicks. It's
Yeah,
kind of like,
they do that too.
oh man, that's it's so wild. I have two of them up on either side of me. This has been a couple of years ago. It's in October during the full moon,
Yeah.
and I had two of them on each side, and it's like they was having a conversation back and forth. It creeped me out.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have so many different ways of communicating when we're in the woods. They use animal sounds, they use pops, they use, uh, they. Oh man, I mean, I know about 15 ways they communicate while we're in there. Now a lot of time we hear whistling. Like we'll get out there and kind of say we got one over in front of us. 5 minutes later, you hear it like that, or
Yeah.
they're whistling. And we had the one we call Little Turtle, Michigan Nakwa. He whistled a couple times, and he was laughing. You could hear him laughing. That's the funny thing about it.
Oh, dude, I've got recorded them laughing. I mean, after they pulled, I call it counting coup, like the natives used to do. They'll pull a prank or whatever, and they get a kick out of it, and they'll laugh about it. And it aggravates me that I didn't have a recorder or some kind of better. For whatever reason, whenever you go live on YouTube and then you upload it, first of all, the video quality is just not there as it would be with a regular camera, and then the sound quality is degraded afterwards too, and that kills me.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been walking in the woods, and all of a sudden I hear yoo-hoo. And I'm like, okay, we got a smart ass in the group because right now when I go in the woods, they kind of go in the woods. No one's there, nobody, and I'm hearing you because I say it to Connie a lot of times, and you hear them laughing right afterwards, they do
Oh,
that.
so it's mimicking you?
Well, it's not mimicking. He's being a smart butt, because he's heard me. Because like when me and Connie camped, I'll go like she'll go wandering off, and I'll kind of like sneak up on her and go, like that. And they pick up on it because we went back in the woods one day, and I told her to bring a parabolic dish, and I said, point it down over the ridge there, and when she did, I went, and there was a little brother and a sister squatch followed us, and about a minute later, she said, "Oh my God, I hear them laughing." She said it sounded like a little 10-year-old girl giggling. Yeah.
That's pretty creepy.
I mean, when they're juveniles, they do some off the wall stuff, and that's why I say, I'm constantly on. Now, this picture right here, I caught back like a few years ago. I went in the woods and I said, all right, I'm gonna do a video on how to make them get their location away and catch a picture of them. And I did. I was on camcorder then. I done a 360, and I said, now I'm gonna take 9.5 steps. I took 9.5 steps, and I stopped against a tree, and I heard snap because a squatch will have to take that one last step to get into position to see you, but you can't see him. And when they did, I turned. I was videoing. I turned and caught a 9-footer dropping down. Now I didn't realize it until a couple of days later when I was looking at it. Right behind that big 9-footer, about 30 yards up on the ridge, this guy was popping his head around. So I sent it to Paul Halsey. He cleared it up and he said, he's smiling at you. It's not a good thing when they smile at you. When they show their teeth, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the white.
Huh?
You can see the white in it.
Exactly, yeah.
The brow ridge.
His conical head.
Yeah.
He was, that's the teeth right there. Paul said he's smiling at you. He was showing his teeth because I proved that I can catch them on video, and I did. I got him, and I got that 9-footer dropped down. There was 6 squatches that day.
You had, let's see, there's another one of yours. Some of these they're pretty good. I mean, you can see the brow ridge and the other one and this one a little bit, make out some facial features. Why do you think it's so hard to get them on camera?
Well, this one right here was the one I got back in 2013. Over to the left side of the tree, you got a brown female hugging against the tree and a cinnamon blonde one over her right shoulder looking at this guy. Most of mine come off of videos.
Yeah.
You know, that's back before I went Facebook Live. I just went out and done my YouTube video thing, you know. And, you know, when I went in, you know, I baited them with, or used peanut butter. And then I started realizing exactly what they're doing, you know. So I went in back there one day, and I was turkey hunting. It was May 10th. And I was turkey hunting, and I went back there, and I saw something about 75 yards to my 2 o'clock position, so I turned the camera and I just zoomed in and out. And well, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's called May 10th Part 3 Possible Sighting, SITEING, and it's the 5-minute and 8-second part of the video that I show. It shows him and the other 2. I caught 6 or 7 of them walking through the woods, and as long as I had my shotgun, and I had my camcorder in my pouch on my right side. And they, we stopped and we looked at each other. But the second my hand hit that camcorder pouch, they scattered. And I caught these 3 here. And this is just one of them looking right dead at me. I zoomed in at 75 yards.
All right. So that one's 75 yards out?
Yeah, and I zoomed in with the camcorder.
It looks like he's crouching down, too.
They are. They're hunkered down behind a tree.
They always got to have something between you and them, don't they?
Yep.
Seems like. Let's see, what else? What's this one? Because I really can't make nothing out on this one.
Okay. All right, put your, this right here's a baby Sasquatch. Bring your cursor in toward the center. Bring your cursor into the center. All right there is the eyes and the head and the face and everything. He's laying down on his right side. He's laying down behind the log, laying down on his right side looking at me. This guy's about 2 foot tall. He was a youngin'.
Oh, wow.
This photograph come off the video I got on the hill. I videoed a squatch with her back to me, and when I was sitting there, I had it on a tripod, and I had it zoomed in. I kind of zoomed down. And I was trying to catch her, and I caught that little baby, and didn't even know it. Connie found that one last year that I videoed, and I never even knew it because I had the camera all scattered around and everything. But that's a newborn. That's about a 2 foot tall little squatch.
2 foot tall.
Yeah, he's about 2 foot tall.
And you say it's laying down? He's laying
down on his right side looking at. He's at the end of a log, laying there, and he's looking at me.
Okay. All right. Now, what in the heck is this thing?
We'll bring it up and I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's on delay. I see there's a white fence or something.
That's a dog man.
Really?
Right in the center of that photograph, there's one standing about a 7 foot tall, standing right there. Bring your cursor over to the middle of the picture.
Yeah, hang on, let me blow it up.
Well, I can see it just fine.
There.
Okay, now, all right, now, just go up about no, too far. Oh, wait a minute. All right, now, you see him? He's standing right next to a farm tractor. Bring your cursor up.
I can't even make out the tractor, to be honest with you.
Well, that's why you don't zoom that picture in.
Let me zoom back out.
Slowly make it smaller. But you can see he's brown. Okay, now bring your cursor over to your left.
All right, I'm putting my cursor right there. Is that the face, maybe?
No. Go to your left. All right, now go straight up. Go straight up with it. Bring your cursor straight up.
Okay.
You're not moving it up. It's straight. All right, whoa, right there. That is his face right there. The whitish is his snout. Then you got the brown in his head and his shoulders and everything.
All right, I see what you're talking about now.
Yeah. That's a 7 foot dog, man.
Where in the heck's the tractor at, though? Is this the tractor right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right there. See that white that goes behind him?
I don't know. I must need new eyes or something. I can't even hardly make out that tractor.
Yeah, that's an old tractor.
All right.
I don't even know what kind of tractor it is. It's an old one. Looks like an old farm haul. So, I don't know. I'm just taking a wild guess on it. But it's a tractor. But that's a dog, man.
So you got those in your area too?
I've seen one in my area. He was 8 foot tall. He had the head of a gray wolf, but all I could see was from about 3/4 of the way up his chest. Let's say right there where your throat meets your chest cavity, from about there up, I saw. I heard something follow me, and I stopped and turned around and looked, and I saw him. Well, I saw the 8 footer, and I stood and looked at him, and he looked at me, and he turned and went one way, and I went the other way. I didn't bother. He didn't show no teeth or nothing. That's the only one I've seen, but I do have a picture of a baby one. But I didn't send you that one. A girl from Canada sent it back to me and said, I was in one area one day and I took a picture of a structure and I posted, because I was posting structures at the time. Now that is a juvenile handprint. I had M.K. Davis clear up.
Yeah, I can make out the handprint. I couldn't see the tractor though. I mean, I don't know. I'm not real good at picking out stuff in pictures.
Yeah.
That's why I won't be happy till there's something that I absolutely know what it is.
Yeah. All right. This handprint here, if you look at the dermal ridges on the hand itself, you see they all work toward the middle. Look at the dermal ridges. They all go meet right in the middle of the palm.
Right.
Man, but we got so many photographs from them touching my car, because when they crossed the road, hell, I got two 8-inch, 7-inch footprints on the hood, the trunk hood of my car.
How big are those prints?
Do what?
How big are those prints?
This handprint right here is 8 inches wide. That was looked like they put their hand on the back part of my car and tried to push me.
Yeah.
This here is I'll put it this way. I had to open my fingers to meet all these here.
Well, see, it kind of looks like we found. I had some company come down, and I guess they're all in the chat right now. But she had these. They was 4 inches long and 2 inches wide, 2 prints, and it was 7 foot up in the air. On the side of her, she's got a mobile home, the ones that you drive, a RV or whatever. ones that you drive, and the driver's side window was 7 foot up in the air. I mean, this, I'm 6 foot tall, and I had to look up to them.
Right.
And they was 4 inches long by 2 inches wide,
Hmm.
and I don't know, it blew my mind. I probably got
Yeah.
that picture somewhere.
Because most of the ones in my area, their hands are, they got large hands, or something like that.
I won't be able to find it. You found some hair recently too, didn't you?
Yeah, down in my hometown. Matter of fact, I still got it here in the drawer. Everybody says, "Why don't you take and go get it done?" I said, "No, I don't need to. I'm not going to because it doesn't do no good because the United States government already has all that stuff. They have the squashes, they have the DNA, they have everything. So what's the use of wasting my time at? I had my sample done in '91, and it come out 98% human.
Yeah. See, I found some hair too, and I sent mine off to Claudia Akeley. I mean, I don't. Who do you send it to? I mean, mainstream science is not interested in this at all, and you know that they have to know that they're real. Our government has to know that these things are out there, and it blows my mind that they don't.
Like, look what happened to Mount St. Helens when Mount St. Helens went kaboom. Why was the military there carrying 5, 7 stretchers with something on it that was over 8 foot tall, put them in ambulance in the trucks and hauling butt?
Right. I mean, yeah, you hear stories like that all the time.
Yeah. And a news reporter said he asked one of the military guys why they did it, and he said, "That's none of your concern."
I've had military vets tell me that they've got like actual training manuals on how to deal with these things.
Yeah.
And I've had 3 different ones tell me very similar tales, and all 3 of them's ex-military, and it's
Yeah.
so. I mean, the government has to know. They have to know that these things are
Well,
real.
think about this. In 1947, the United States military, that is a female. That right there is Moon. Right, you see the tree, and you got her standing right next to it, to the left of the tree. She's leaning outward. That's a female squatch.
Yeah.
But in 1947, the United States Army Corps of Engineers acknowledges Sasquatch as being a native species of North America, and this is in 1947.
Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there if you look it up. And I mean, what is it about them that they don't want folks to know that they're real? So what I'm not understanding, is it over money, religion? I mean, why? Why is it?
Because most of the people, if the government acknowledges Sasquatch, that means all the loggers and everything has to do with the industry has to shut their log business, have to stop cutting that area because they're like what happened with the spotted owl out in California. They had to shut that whole area out because of that one spotted owl. Well, that's the way it is with Sasquatches. They have to stop cutting the lumber because they are destroying the home of the Sasquatches.
See, I think that's part of it. Where I'm from, there's a lot of coal mining done, and they would shut mines down over like a salamander.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because Kanney's property is a strip mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think, just to be totally honest, I think Theodore Roosevelt created a bunch of the national parks because of Bigfoot. I mean, that's, a theory that's nothing I can prove, but I think that's why he done it.
Yeah. Well, he done Yellowstone Park like that, and everything. But Roosevelt had I think he was the president that had that he had a sighting or something to do with Sasquatch too. I'm not really sure.
Well, it's called the Ballman story. Like, I think it was a trapper had a sighting. I think maybe it came. I can't remember the whole story right now, but I don't. Theodore Roosevelt was. He was a heck of a man. He's one of my heroes. I mean, he was a tough guy. He actually gave a campaign speech one time and got shot. and he had a book in his pocket, and it stopped the bullet. But still, yet the impact of that, it broke ribs and stuff. He finished his speech. He finished his speech before going to get his, get checked out or whatever. But he was a naturalist. He would go out and, he just enjoyed Mother Nature. And the whole bombing story, I think, could have been Theodore Roosevelt. I don't even think that there was a bombing, and I think that's why he was wanting the national parks so much to protect them. I mean, that's just my thoughts. But
yeah. I mean, as far as me goes, I know what the military says, and I've taught, and I was born and bred in the military, I mean, I wasn't in the military, I was born in the military, and I've talked to a lot of colonels, a lot of sergeants, and I got friends who used to be in the military, and they all say that, like down here in the Amelia, down in Blackstone, we got a military base that has a female Sasquatch that lives on the military base. And they catch her every night over next to the ammo depot. When they go out on night maneuvers, they are told there's a female Squatch out there, don't pay attention to her, she's going to throw rocks at you, and everything like that. And they got to go through their night maneuvers with this female Squatch lobbing stuff at them all night long. But they're told, do not acknowledge her and do not pay attention to her.
Well, all right. I mentioned to you that I've talked to 3 different people that's ex-military, and they pretty much every one of them said that they had like a manual, what would you call it? What did these people tell you what they used to keep them away? I'm interested to see if they told you the same story that I've heard.
No, they just told me, that they had them on the base down, and they just said, as far as anybody else goes, like people who live down around that town know that there's a female Squatch here. But the rest of the world, as far as the military said, she's there. Don't pay attention to her because she's a loner. And she walks all around that base. They've got her on so many thermal night vision cameras around that base, but they're told, don't pay attention to her. Now, as far as someone up here in my area, what are you talking about? We don't know what you're talking about, because I'm not a local. I wouldn't know. As far as the rest of the world goes, they don't know. But as far as people who live around the area, around that base, know that they got a female Sasquatch there.
Well, see, like I said, I had 3 different people talk to me, and what they were saying was it was on the bases that they had. And, I've heard like a Lady in the Woods has that base near her, and whenever they do maneuvers, it pushes them off the base. But what every one of these told me, and as far as I know, they don't know each other and never share stories with each other. I mean, I guess they possibly could have, but each one of them told me that they use green lasers to keep them away. Yeah, green lasers. I mean, yeah, I've heard that from 3 different guys now.
So in other words, when the green laser hits them, it kind of freaks them out, and they all butt.
I guess it blinds them or something. Like, for instance, I always pack if I go out at night, I pack a bright spotlight with me. And my figuring is that, these things are active during the night, and they've got, you always hear the stories about the big eyes and stuff like that. Yeah. And, if you're out at night, your pupils are going to be dilated.
Yeah, now think about this. All right, I'm a predator hunter, and when I go hunting at night, I use a red or a green lens. I mean, not a beam like you say, a green beam or whatever, or a red beam. I use the colored glass, and what that does, it takes the UV rays out. So that'll let the coyote or bobcat come right straight to me, and I got the light on. It means come right to me because the light don't bother it. Because it takes the UV rays out. But from what I'm understanding what you're talking about, from what these guys said,
it'll blind. Okay, say you wake up in the morning, and I'm gonna, like, whenever I was a kid, Mom would get me up for school or whatever. She turned on that light. It hurts your eyes whenever you first open them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I guess that's what it's doing to them. It blinds them or whatever. And that's why I pack that bright light around. and I don't
Yeah, I
I don't
didn't
think
look
they
like
like
that.
bright lights. A lot of
Well,
people.
I do know a red beam. You know, I like one of those little pointers. You know, it's got the little red light. You know, you can
Uh-huh.
see it. You can actually hit an airplane with it. You know, but I know I've never used one of them out in the woods. You know, on a squat or anything. And the green either. I just used it like the lenses you put on flashlights, stuff like that, or for hunting. But the little green laser, yeah, I guess it would blind them. Yeah, because it's so condensed and so concentrated. Yeah, it would blind. I guess it would blind them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean and I've heard that, like I said, from 3 different people, and I just always found that interesting. And that each of them told me that they had that in the manual, and I mean, I think this is the first time I've ever mentioned anything about what each of them told me. And it's on. I've still got the emails from 2 of the guys, and the other guy was somebody that commented in the chat. So I don't know, but I always found that interesting, and I think it's where they hunt at night, and they move around a lot at night, and
Uh,
their pupils have to be dilated to see that good and not to take in light and stuff. And I think that maybe they can see infrared.
well, you know that each color, like in the center, like at nighttime around my camp, we noticed that their eyes are, when they're in a playful mood, their eyes are white. But they have a black line that runs from one side to the eyeball to the other, from left to right, right to left, whatever. And when they blink, you can see that little black line, kind of like spread and go back. But I think that right there helps them with the moods. Like you got white, which is playful, yellow, which is curious, yellowish orange is curious but nervous, emerald green, which means they're relaxed, and then you got red. Now, right here is the left side of the tree. Here's that female right there, and right there on the right shoulder is that cinnamon blonde one. And he's looking at that. Looking at the one on the right side of the tree. That first picture you showed. That's the other side of the tree.
Oh, so that's the same in the
Yeah.
same video as that one.
Yeah. The first one you showed, when you showed the watch looking right dead at you, these are the ones that's on the left side of the tree.
So, okay, that's the same tree then.
Yeah, same tree, just the left side of it. The black one was on the right side of the tree.
So
Right
that tree
here,
would be over here, because this one, both of them look like they're looking out the left side.
well, actually, the one that's against the tree, this right here is a female right here. Where you got your cursor, that right there, no, this is a complete different photograph. Go back to the one they showed me that's looking directly at you.
All right, it's on like a 10-second delay from whenever I flip the pictures.
Okay, this picture right here is a female Sasquatch. Yeah, now this right here is the left side of the tree. Now you can't see her face too good, but you got the green leaf right there on her face. But you can see her conical head, and right behind her you see a cinnamon blonde one. You see his face and his conical head. There's a cinnamon blonde one right there, right behind her head. Both of them are looking to the right. Actually, the cinnamon blonde was looking to the right. The brown one is looking at me. She's hunkered up against the tree.
So, is this the head right here? Hang on, let's see if I can do something.
Where's your cursor at? Yeah, okay. All right, okay, now. Don't zoom it in. All right, stop right there. All right, now.
That line.
Don't do no colors. All right, that right there is her head. That's her head.
Okay.
From the inside there to the tree is her head. Where you started that line at was her conical.
So it's cocked sideways then?
That right there is the cinnamon blonde one.
Okay.
That one is behind her. There's two right there in that picture. You got the brown one in front, you got her behind you.
So the other one.
Yeah, the first one you showed me, one that's looking right directly at you. I said it's on the right side of the tree. This is the left side of the tree.
Right.
I said there were three. No, that's nothing right there. That's nothing. That's nothing.
Yeah. Okay, but what you're saying is this picture and the other picture are the same. It's the same tree.
Right.
It's just a different angle.
You got that one that's looking directly at you. You said you can't make. It was before the dog man picture.
Oh, so I'm on the totally wrong picture.
Yeah, this right here is from 2013. The first one you showed, the one you showed before the dog man, it showed him looking right at you. That was on the right side of the tree. This is the left side of the tree. Okay.
This is the baby.
Okay.
Hang on.
All right. Where your cursor is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go to the sixth picture. Go back one.
That
Go
one.
back one. Go back one. That one right there. No.
Not that one.
No, that one. This is the one on the right side of the tree. This is the one on the other side of the tree, the one Cinnamon Blonde's looking at.
Okay. And this is, you took these out of a video? Like screenshots?
I took them off my videos, yeah.
Right. And I'll put a link to your YouTube channel and your Facebook in the description of this video.
Yeah, this right here was a few years back. Now, I do have a video. It's called Part 3, P-A-E-R-T. I got 9 juveniles hiding in the open all the way around me, about 25 yards away from me, that I never did know was there until I started checking the video out.
What was you talking about the lines in their eyes? I never did. I don't understand that. What's that?
Okay. When their eyes are white, if you get a close up, like in my area, you know, we have squatches that come close to our camp, and the juveniles, we can look right at them because they're in the shadows and they think they're hidden, you know, and we see their eyes, but they have a black line that runs through their eye. Like
vertical or horizontal?
From left to right. Not up and down, from left to right.
All right.
And in the daytime, you see either a solid brown eye or a solid black eye. The whole eye, there's no white in their eyes. But at nighttime, their whole eyeball is white and they got a line running through it. And when they blink, that line kind of opens and closes. And at night, and I'm still trying to figure this out, how they work the colors of their eyes. I guess it's due to moods, because when they're pissed off, their eyes are red. When they're like sitting in the living room watching TV with their mom and dad, their eyes are emerald green. When they see something and they're curious but they're nervous, it's yellowish orange. If they're just plain curious, it's yellow. But when they're in a playful mood, their eyes are white.
Well, see, I've seen, you know how the old flashlights look? Before the LEDs? I've seen eye shine that looks like that, and then kind of a silverish looking.
Right. Now, if you take and get them within 20 yards of you, you can see that line in their eyes. You're going to have to come to my camp and see it for yourself. That's the only way I can explain it.
Oh, I'm definitely, you're not but, 4.5 hours from me. I'm definitely wanting to come down there and camp.
Well, you're more than welcome, because Paul Halsey's going to be here, and you, if you want to come, you know. But I tell people, no cameras, no flashlights. Just sit there and watch them, and once you see them, and you'll see, and you'll understand what I'm talking about when you see what happens. Last year, Daniel sent people to my camp to make me look bad. And guess what? Everybody there saw 6 juveniles standing 15 feet in front of them in the open. And we had squatches all around the camp for about like an hour or two. And everybody saw it. Everybody's like, wow, we've never seen that. Because we had a mother and daughter from Stanton. They kept saying all day, oh, there ain't no such thing. We don't believe in Bigfoot and all that crap. And all of a sudden, about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, boom, what do you know? We had 6 juveniles standing right out in front of them. And everybody's jaws hit the ground. Now,
why? How come no cameras?
Think about this. You remember hearing, years ago, well, the way the Amish used to be back in the 1700s, 1800s, or whatever. They had no mirrors, and if you drew a picture of them, if I drew a picture of you in the 1700s, you would say I'm stealing your soul. So the way they think, if you and they do. These around here, or the ones that I know of, live by the old ways. And if you take their picture, you stole their soul. That's what they believe.
That's what the Native Americans used to believe.
Exactly. And the thing is, people say, why can't you get a clear picture? Well, Connie told me today there was a guy got in touch with her. He said he took a picture of a squash 20 feet from him, and he said it come out blurry. And he had $1,000 camera, but it come out blurry, and Squash was just standing there. He caught it when it was going from one tree to the other.
Most Bigfoot pictures I see are pretty blurry, and I don't know why that is. I mean, for instance, I've took pictures of my dog, and she's got a shaggy coat on her, and some of them come out blurry, and I don't know what it is about the boogers. I mean, first of all, you're taking video out with a bunch of trees and branches and leaves everywhere. And I think that messes, with the zoom on your lens, the focus on the lens. Plus, I think it's got something to do with their hair, is why they come out blurry.
Their hair is translucent. That's why I say they can hide in the open. You won't even see them. Because, see, our brains are programmed to look for stuff that is hidden. I have a photograph that Connie took of me a couple of years ago. I was doing a thing, and I was proving to the world that a squatch can't hide in the open. You'll never see him. I walked 25 yards from Kanney in the woods, turned around. She took my picture, posted it on Facebook. What do you see in this photograph? Everybody said nothing. 2 days later, she zoomed it in, put an arrow on top of me, said, that's Freddie. All right, now what Freddie didn't know was, a couple of days later, he was looking at that photograph and noticed something behind him. 30 feet behind me, there was a Sasquatch, 6-foot Sasquatch standing right in the open, right behind me, and I never even saw it.
Just for fun, one time, I took a picture of a deer that was right below me. I mean, 20 yards from me with a camera. I took its picture.
Yeah.
And posted it on a couple of Facebook groups. And it was pretty funny, the responses I got.
Yeah.
And then finally, somebody else finally spotted the deer, and then I drew a circle around the deer. Just to, if I'm sure you've hunted a lot. If you're out hunting and you could have a deer that's 20, 30 yards from you, if that thing's standing still, I mean, they're very hard to spot until they move.
Exactly. That's my point. That was the point I was trying to make to people. They could stand right in smack in the open. Since their hair is translucent, all they got to do is just take a step back. Boom, they're gone. But they're still standing there. Because our minds are not programmed to find them. We're only programmed to look for stuff that, like, good example, like, say you get home from work, you get home, and you go in and you throw your keys on the counter. All right, the next day you get up, it's like, oh man, I'm late for work. And you get, you do shower stuff, all this stuff, and you go look for your keys, all of a sudden, bam, you can't find your keys. You tear the whole house apart. Then you go back to the counter, you're standing like, oh man, where's my keys at? And you just happen to look down.
They're right there.
And they're right there.
I know exactly what you're talking about. But let's go back to the camera deal and how you get that they think that they're stealing its souls. And I'm just going to tell it now. I've heard a lot of people tell me that they'll go out without cameras and they'll get way more activity. And I recently, I've been doing that. I did that last fall. I did it, and I did it the other day. And I had activity up here. Now, today I went out, and I brought a camera with me, and I could hear something down the hillside from me, but it never got in as close. I never did see anything the other day. But I've had several people tell me that. Now, why do you think that is?
Because they know what a camera is. Think of the game camera. They know that thing goes click.
Right.
And they know you're carrying it, but you don't use it until you see them, and they can hear that push of a button. They can hear that. That's how sensitive the ears are. But we go out like with the panoramic. That's on video and that's constantly going. We don't stop or nothing. It just runs the whole time. And and we go Facebook Live. That is running constantly. But when Connie, we got a Nikon camera, and when we go out, when we do a structure, Connie will hold the camera and we'll click and go on about her business, and they know what that camera is because they see it in her hand and they see her taking pictures. But as far as the phone goes and that panoramic, I'm not messing with the panoramic. It's constant. We turn it on as soon as we get out of the truck, and we don't cut it off till we get back to the truck. So we're not taking pictures. We're just constantly, it's on a continuous video nonstop. I don't even touch it, so they don't pay attention to it. They know I'm talking into a something as far as they know. They say, well, he's talking into something, and that's it. But that camera deal, they seen Connie hold that camera up so many times, you go click, they know what that is. Now, being an empath.
Well, see, I can agree with that because a lot of time, whenever I put up game cameras here around the house, because they used to slap the house, they used to steal the dog food, stuff like that. I can put a game camera up, and that just like a light switch, it stops. They don't hit the house, they don't steal the dog food. Heck, I put game cameras inside of a tote before, and they stopped. How they knew that game camera was in there, I don't know, but they knew. They didn't.
I can tell you how they know. They're watching you.
That's the only logical conclusion I can come up with is that they're watching.
Everything you do from the time you step out that door to the time you go back and you're in that door, you're being eyeballed.
That's what I think, and that's what I'm trying to get at here is what you're talking about is your observations and what's happened to you, and that's all we can do. I mean,
Exactly.
There might be some guy that lives out in Montana somewhere that can take a camera out and get pictures or whatever. But
exactly.
from our observation, I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't claim to know what it is. I don't claim to know anything about these except for my observations and what I've documented here.
Right. That's what I've done. That's how I've learned by what they leave behind, what I see with my eyes, and what I use through the native, through the news and everything. Now, this for 39 years, and take me, and I've talked to guys that's been doing it 60 plus years, and they've told me stuff that I didn't know, and I told them stuff that they didn't know, and these guys have been doing 60 some years, and they tell me the same thing. He said, and one guy gave me a good example. He said, this is how much we know. Take two dimes and put them together and hold them between your fingers. That's how much knowledge we have of Bigfoot right now. And I've been doing it 60 some years. This is old man talk. He said, you put those two dimes together and stick between your first finger and your thumb. And he said, that's how much knowledge we have of these creatures. Look how much you've got to learn. And most of these guys are dead, I've been doing it 39 years, and every day when I go in the woods, I learn something new. I see something different that they do that I didn't see before. And that's with anybody. Your area, my area, people all across the United States, and people all over the world. When they learn about Bigfoot, they are learning every day they go in because you never stop learning.
No, you never do stop learning, and that's what, like I was saying a while ago. Man, I thought I've had things figured out, like trailing them, and that they would come around every 3 weeks, but. Something changed that. Now, I don't know if it's where they seen that I was following them on their trails or what. I had another thought the other night. That summer and winter and fall and all that, there's all kinds of acorns out, all kinds of food for them out. This year, there's nothing out there for them. So they would have to change their habits. They're a physical being, in my opinion. They do physical things. They hunt for food. They build things. They scream. They're, in my opinion, they're a flesh and blood creature, and there's nothing at all magical about them. So they have to change, their tactics. If there's not enough food out there for them this year, then they're going to come in, maybe grab a couple eggs and some, they're going to go for easier pickings. They have to eat. So they're going to figure out a way to eat.
Right now here in Virginia in the Shenandoah Valley, like we got some acorns. I mean it's not much, but they do, like a predator, they do follow the food source. They come back to their day beds and everything in the daytime. I mean, in the morning time, stuff like that. But they follow the food source. There's some nights we don't even see them for 3 or 4 nights, because they're following the food source.
Exactly. If they was to stay in one area all the time, there wouldn't be a critter left there. Yeah, there'd be nothing there anymore. I mean, they'd have to move around. They have to. I think they're kind of conservationists, to be honest with you.
All right, think about this. All right, if there is an overpopulation of turkeys, they would take and get all the eggs. But if there was an underpopulation of turkeys and they found a turkey nest with 4 eggs in them, they would take 2 and leave 2. If they see a doe with 2 fawns, they would take 1 and leave 1. Because they have to leave it for that one to get older so she can have babies, or that buck will give, or that buck will get that girl pregnant, something like that. Yeah, think about it. They do conservation. Like a lot of guys I know down in my own town, we do deer conservation. We won't shoot the bucks until they're 6 years old. Like that, and we give the young ones time to grow up. And then we get rid of the oldest ones, it's kind of a conservation thing. Well, the squatches do that for the food source. If there's more turkey you shake a stick at, they'll raid that nest, take all the eggs. But if there's an underpopulation of turkey, they would take 2 and leave 2.
See, I think they know a little something about that. I mean, I honestly do. I think they're an intelligent being. I don't think they're a stupid ape. And like we was talking about earlier, there's been DNA research on these things, and they got like a kind of a human DNA to them. Now, are they human? I don't think they're not human like we are, but there's something to it.
They do have 98% human. It's the other part, the hybrid, that we don't know. When you look at a squatch, all right, we got some in our group that's got conical heads, and we got some that's got the oblong head like the Egyptians, We got like that, and we got some that's got hair on their face from top to bottom, and we got some that ain't hair on their face. But here's the thing that I can agree about in my area. Every one of them looks like a human in the face. Now there are some that look a little bit like a pug. Some that might look like have like a wide flat nose, but they all have a human type face. They have the same genitals we do as the males do. They have the same things that the females do. They give birth the same way. They just happen to live differently. And the thing about it is, what is through my DNA, and I am being backed by 2 government officials on this, that they are 98%. But what is the hybrid part? That is the part we don't know. And if the government would stop using animals, because they're using dogs, cats, chipmunks, mice, gorillas, monkeys, birds, stop using animals. Work more into humans. Take DNA from one person all around in every country in the world, and work that way.
Well, the way I see it is, they came out with a study about chimpanzees being closely related to humans because it's got we share 96% DNA. I'm just throwing out a number. I don't know if that's the exact number or whatever. And I totally don't believe in evolution. Just you don't see it today. They've got absolutely zero proof of evolution. However, we're all created by the same creator. So, he's going to use the same material for all of us, is the way I see it on the DNA. But there's slight differences that in the DNA that he uses. They can change. They got labs out now. The stuff that they do now is just absolutely crazy, and they're fooling with the DNA. But they can make a change in the DNA and come out with something totally different. And this stuff it's going on in China right now. I mean, look some of this stuff up. It's crazy what they're coming up with. but they're full of God's creation, and I don't think that's going to fly very good. But anyway,
Yeah,
not to get
yeah,
off on that rant.
yeah.
But
Because I do
how do
know
you know
that
about their birthing areas, Fred? Somebody asked a question or actually made a statement. How
about
how do you know that it's a birthing area?
because the first time I went to a birthing area, I got growled out of there. I got about 50 yards from it. I had one on my left, one on my right, and one in front of me growling me out. And here's the weird thing: I could smell afterbirth. You know how like when a hog or a cow gets a birth, you can smell it. Well, if you live on a farm, you can smell it. You know, you recognize afterbirth, the smell of it, and that's what I smelled. And then now each in my area, my birthing beds are not like the ones Ron Moorhead has seen. Because I talked to him back last year during Daniel's conference, and he said, "This is what birthing beds look like." I said, "Wrong." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "My birthing beds are different. Since I have so thick of mountain laurel, they got one tree that's outside, and they'll snap half of it, and they'll lay it over, and they'll lay it into a trunk, into a fork of a tree. That tells you that they're there. If the trunk of the tree is laid down, you know, laid down next to the tree that's broke, kind of like, you snap it, and bend it, they're not in there. But when you go inside the birth area, you'll see individual beds, you know, yeah, it's the best way I can describe it is beds. And they got branch shit going over top of it. Because we took pictures. We did a video and took pictures and sent them to Ron Moorhead. And he said he's never ever seen a birthing bed like that before. I know I got 9. We got 2 right behind our camp. And we don't. And right now, from now till about the first week of June, we won't go near them. We'll go near them, but we won't go down into them.
Do you think they have like a mating season, or are they more like humans and just whenever? You know,
I think they're like us, but I think they have these birthing beds because when they migrate back, they got to have a place to give birth at, So, but I do know that the squashes always do come back to where they were born at.
how would you know that?
Huh?
How do you know that they always come back to where they're born at?
Because the first clan I started with, I found out where the birthing bed was, and I paid attention to that birthing bed every year. For 39 years, I paid attention to that one birthing bed, and all the squatches that it was in that first clan that very first ones I dealt with have been in that, come out of that area, out of that bed right there. And now we got 9 birthing beds in the area now. Excuse me, we got 9 birthing beds in the area now, and right now they're in there now. And I do not go near their areas.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to go in an area.
Once you've been growled out of an area, it does not feel good.
Oh, honey, I've definitely been growled out of an area. I've got a place up here I call Stinky Holler, and that's kind of why I'm interested in what you're talking about in the birthing area, because this might be one of those birthing areas. But I've been up there, and it usually happens in the spring. And I don't know if they have like a mating season or whatever, but I know here in the spring, man, they get vocal and it's like a big excitement or something. And I don't know if it's a food source or what's going on. Maybe they're just getting a little frisky. But
all right, tell Tara that every birthing bed is a different size. The biggest one I got holds 7 beds inside that one area.
now, what would a bed be? What are you?
What would a what?
What would the bed be? Is it like a structure or like a cave or something?
No, it's kind of weird to describe. They kind of got like when you go in, just like an open area, and they put say like sucker trees, and they build like a big, they build like a big, they make a square or a how the hell shall I describe it? I put it this way: take and make you take a cup, take your toothpicks and make an upside down cup. And
Like a nest. Is it like a nest?
Well, it's a yes and no, because each bed is a sanctuary for the female and her babies. What they do is they defecate around each bed, that particular female. And what that does, the smell, when the baby's born, the smell keeps that baby right next to her until they're ready to get up and move and everything like that. And I found quite a bit of scat there, but I don't mess with anything. I tell people, if you go into a birthing area after they give birth and they smell your scent, if you go in, you're okay. But if you go in, step in that particular bed, they won't come back to the area. They will move to another spot. You won't see them again. I've learned that.
How big is your area?
I got over 300,000 plus acres.
That you actively research?
Yeah, national forest.
Okay, so I mean that's pretty reasonable because the way I see it, like I was telling you earlier, I think I've got anywhere from 6 to 8, and this was from 2 years ago. Whenever I found all these different size tracks here in one year, actually one summer, and so that's what I'm estimating or guesstimating the size of my clan is 6 to 8 boogers, maybe more, maybe less, but I definitely found 6 different tracks, but I don't think any of those was the alpha male, and who knows, there might be another one. But they're big critters, so they have to consume a lot of calories, and they have to have a big area for each individual clan. So what you're saying, your research area is a big spot.
Yeah, now think about this. Right outside the Blue Ridge Parkway is the Appalachian Trail. That's the one they migrate up and down the East Coast. All right, come inside my area. All right, a lot of deer, a lot of everything, and they use that food source during the spring and summer, and then they leave. Now we have two 18-footers. We call them John and Henry. They are guards. They stand on each side of the camp when the others come across the road. After a certain amount of time, they all go back behind the camp and they go up on the mountain toward the parkway and they go hunting. They do that. It's like clockwork to a point. But there are some nights we don't even see them. So that tells me that the deer population or the food source down there have to travel to go get it. It's a damn big area, And the higher up on the mountain you get, the thicker the mountain laurel is, and that's where the big boy deer are at. And that's where most of that's where most of the food source is. Now, certain times of year they got to come down low because at the top of the mountain, at certain times of year there's no water, so the food source got to come down off the mountain to the lower part of the valley to get water. Now in my area, I have two reservoirs. I have Mill Creek and Cold Springs. I'm right in the middle of them. So I got constant water. I got a stream right next to my camp. Flows 24/7, 365.
Right. So you said there's an 18-footer there?
We got two 18-footers.
Two of them?
Yeah.
How did you come by that measurement?
Well, very simple. You can look at them, and we measured where they stood.
Okay, so they was like by a tree or whatever, then you went and measured the tree later.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, I'll tell you, we had a lady last year named Verna Underhill. She said, I want to see the 18-footer. All right. When they was ready to leave, I walked up the trail, I'd stop, I turned her, I said, I'm going to turn you to the right, I'm going to stick my finger on your nose over your head. And when follow my finger, when my finger stops, you can be looking eyeball to eyeball with Henry. When I stopped, I said, there he is right there. He was standing 35 yards away looking right at us with his eyes green. I said, that's Henry. She said, my God, he's huge. Yeah, he's huge. But
yeah, 18 foot's pretty big.
They have an accelerated growth, believe it or lot. That's what I've noticed.
Well, I was MK Davis. I follow him on Facebook, and
Yeah,
I
me
don't get
too.
on Facebook a lot. I went a whole year one time. Well, I haven't been on the computer but a couple of years, but I went almost a whole year one time, and I rarely post anything on Facebook, but I like to follow a few people on there. And he was talking about the Giants and the Freeman footage is supposedly, what he calls a true giant. And these true giants, the way he said it, and he's got different people that's told him stuff. And then you'll hear people like Brian Sullivan will talk about this, and
Well,
Matt Squatch,
yeah,
and they live
you
up in
got
the
true
high
giants.
mountains.
Yeah, you got true giants and you got ancient giants.
But
Now we have true giants. Now the 20-footer we saw that night was an ancient giant. Now through the history of the native, the 20-foot are considered ancient giants. Henry and them are considered true giants. It's kind of hard for me to explain, but that's the way it was explained to me.
the way I understand it is most of the big ones like that, and I can't think of what the name is for them, Genosqua or something like that.
Uh-huh.
That they stay way back, like in the high mountains, like I'm talking about in the Rockies or over, like in your area, the mountains are pretty high. I meant to Google that a while ago anyway, but that I heard that they stay up in the high parts of the mountains and stuff, and
Well, they're smart.
yeah, and MK Davis was talking about how once an animal gets so big that like that tall, giants spend most of their time on all fours. Have you heard of that?
Well, see, 7, 8, about 10 years ago, I'm coming from turkey hunting, and I come around this curve. Get to where I turn off, go to path. I seen it was around May. And I seen what I thought was a black bear come from my left, coming out, but it had real long black hair. I'm like, wait, that's a damn big bear. They walked out the road and stood up, and it was a young squatch, had real long hair, but he was on all fours, and everything. But he come out and stood right out in the middle of the road for about maybe 5 minutes, and then hauled ass.
Now I've seen two of them on all fours, and they wasn't big. Well, I don't know how big. The one that I had one run across my back porch, and I was sitting here chatting on Messenger with someone, and it ran across my porch, and it was on all fours. And then the one that crossed the trail in front of me was 2 years ago, I guess now, was on all fours. And I swear this thing, it wasn't real big, maybe 6, 7 foot. And it looked like it had a baby on its back because it had a big old hump. But these things, it was so fast. It's hard to describe how fast these things were.
Well, they can catch deer running wide open.
Yeah, I can believe that. The way I seen this thing moving, I don't know how long they can keep up. This was I describe it like a bottle rocket taking off. It was just like a bam blur. It's gone.
Exactly. That's how fast they are.
And it was crazy.
Yeah, I got a buddy of mine. I've been begging him for this video for 10 years. He's got a thermo of 3 squatches coming in on a doe in the field next to my camp, but I cannot get him to give it to me. And man, you see the blood fly.
He's got what now?
He's got a video, a thermal video of 3 squatches chasing and coming in, like from 12, 4, and 8 coming in on a doe while they're chasing it.
Wow.
And catching it. And he said, and I've seen the video, and you can see the blood fly. Oh, you're reading about how come the Blue Ridge Mountains are blue?
Now, I was trying to look for the elevation. I thought I saw it.
I used to know it. Let's see. Well, you see the coordinates up here at the top. But see, I'm in the Sharando area.
Over 5,000 feet.
I think so. I don't pay attention to much stuff like that.
I just find it interesting.
I do. I tell you this, when I go up and down the mountain on 64 or 250, at certain points my ears will pop going up the mountain and coming down the mountain.
Yeah, see, they don't do it here. Like I said, I'm in the foothills, but back whenever I lived over in West Virginia, I was down in the coal fields, and you can cross the mountains there, and your ears will pop. But I mean, there's a lot of wild places for them to hide back in the Appalachian Mountains. There's plenty of places for them.
I mean, the Shenandoah Valley, the Shenandoah Valley, is like one giant volcano. I mean, one massive volcano, and only way I can describe it is if your volcano goes off, it's taking Virginia, North Carolina, all the way down to Georgia, out toward Mississippi, and up to New York. It's going to take that much out if that thing erupts. And people live in it, well, it's nice knowing you, but it's been dormant for God knows how many thousands of years, I read that on a plaque on top of the parkway one day.
Oh, really?
It said it was a volcano. I didn't even know that until about 12 years ago. I was up on a parkway, and we was just, a bunch of us were trail riding. We had to come down on the come down the parkway, and we stopped, and I went followed this trail down. I found a plaque.
I didn't know that either. I just looked that up, and it is. Have you ever noticed that most of the mountains are like in line with the shorelines of the oceans, like the Rocky Mountains and the Appalachian Mountains, and they're always like running parallel to the shorelines.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, I heard that the other day, and then I got to looking, and sure enough, that's true too. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, the Shenandoah Valley's so big, I mean, there's an abundance of wildlife. So, yeah, the squashers will stop here and give birth and everything, and stay here till the end of summer to let their young grow, till they get old enough to, that they can follow. And they just kind of they migrate and they come back every spring. It's like clockwork.
Do you go out in the wintertime?
I'm in the woods all winter long. I'm an avid outdoorsman. I'm a hunter. Anything that's huntable, I hunt it. And I have never ever found any squatch print in the snow here in my area during the winter time.
Well, see, I've only found one here in the snow, which it ain't really snowed that much this year. But was it last winter? Might have even been the winter before last. One hit my window with a rock, and the snow was patchy, and I found one track out here. Or no, two tracks out here, and that's the only time I've ever found it in the snow. And I'll go and try to look every time it snows. Since I've known these things exist, and I've never found one out in the snow. I think they hole up whenever it snows. And I've got a good friend that lives up in Ohio, and she has activity a lot at her place too. But whenever it snows, it just bam, it stops. And that's another thing that I think they're smart and they're highly aware of their tracks. So I think they kind of hole up or something during the snows, as not to be found.
Now here in the valley, we have a lot of caves, So that's another theory I got. Maybe they hole up in the caves here, because we do.
A lot of people think that.
They go from the inside the valley to the outside of the valley, like from Augusta County over into Nelson County, under the ground, I mean, like I say, this is a volcano. We got thousands of caves here in the valley, So, if they don't migrate, they probably go live in the caves. I don't know, But it's another theory that I don't know about. But we do have a lot of caves here. A lot of caves.
Well, you hear down south that, like around the river systems and stuff, that they'll go back in the banks and stuff like that. And then there's a place close to me called Carter Caves, and it's supposedly a hotbed too. I know some people that do their research up there. So, I mean, why wouldn't they go back in caves?
Yeah, what was that? Baltimore, guy down in Texas showed a picture of a squatch had a cave right in the side of a riverbank, and he had a little hole dug in the back of the cave that he made a bowl out of clay.
Wait, boogers made a bowl? What was that again?
It was somewhere in Texas that there was a cave that a squatch had made or something, and they found footprints, squatch prints going in and out of it constantly. And in the back of the cave, there was like a little hole where he set a bowl. It looked like he made a bowl out of clay or something. But he had squatch prints going in, and he put like tree branches in front of it to cover the cave up.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever seen any sign that they used fire?
Not here in the valley, no.
I've never seen that either here, but they seem to be interested in fire. Like I can go out and start a fire and start getting activity.
Well, I got my fire pit that I use at the camp is about 3 foot by 3 foot long and 3 foot wide and 2.5 feet deep. But I make mine like a cone, and it'll light up 10 feet or 15 feet path, going outward, and you got a spot where the light stops and the dark starts. And it's all the way around my camp. It's probably about a 30-foot radius all the way around my camp, that fireplace. And the juveniles that come right up in the shadows, come right up toward the dark and the light start, but they stay back in there and you can see them. You can see the silhouette in their eyes, but they won't come into the light. But they do watch that fire constantly.
Well, who don't like a good fire?
I love a good fire.
We was talking on chat. Yeah, I don't know if they just like the fire, or somebody mentioned in chat, which made me think maybe it makes them nervous. Like
I don't know. In Kentucky, the property of Kanney have, she found a pipe one time, and down in her area, and she stuck her hand over top and had heat coming out. Now, when they strip mined it, the dozers and everything covered at the entrance to a lot of the caves, that they did underground mining, and she can't find them now. But she was thinking maybe the Squatches used one of them entrances to indicate to build a fire. We don't know. I've never found any sign, even the caves that I've been in, have never found any signs of a fireplace, even just a little teeny one. I've never found.
Well, they seem to like to stay hidden, and they don't want to be found. So if they build a fire or whatever, then that could give away their position. Is one of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I agree with that part. They could be doing that.
And again, I think it goes back to people underestimate how intelligent these critters are.
Oh, they're very intelligent, man. I mean, they're very intelligent. That's what I say. If you research through the ancient ways like I do, I mean, everything you see every day is something new. They do something. They make a structure a certain way. They take and bend branches. Like when you walk down a trail, you notice twigs that have been broken, twisted. No matter how minute, it's a communication that they use.
Yeah.
The squatters.
Well, I always look at like going down the trail. I'll look up high and look for broken off limbs and twist to them and stuff.
Yeah.
That's 8 foot high. There's nothing else is going to. What else would do that? I guess it's just to get them out of their face or whatever.
Yeah. Now, if you've been watching our video, the last 3 times we went out done Facebook Live, we had one hell of a storm damage, and you got a lot of storm damage in there, but yet you got a lot of what squatches do, and. And I'm an arborist. I went to work I had to go to school for the top arbor company in the world, which is Asplund. I had to go to school for 6 months, and they teach you everything about the weather, the trees, the soil, everything about a tree, the hardness, everything. And I've been determined by looking at a certain particular structure and tell if a squatch has done it. And
right.
People cannot understand. I can't explain it.
Well, yeah, a lot of the stuff you find is natural. I mean, there is a lot of wind damage and.
Yeah, but they're up mostly up high. And
yeah.
In my area, you see there's a lot of trees, like a lot of tops that fell down. Like today, we were showing structures that was done by nature, like trees falling and bending certain brush in certain ways, and it looks like a squatch did it, but it's nature.
Usually, if it's wind or snow load or something like that, it'll be just like a snapped off, and there's not really a twist to it.
Yeah, 'cause a squatch would twist.
Yeah, I heard. I think it was Kumbo Baker was actually talking about. You can tell if they're left-handed or right-handed by the way it's twisted.
Yeah, he got that from me.
Oh yeah, which
Yeah,
makes it makes a lot of sense. Like if they grab something and twist it, you could kind of tell which way what hand they used.
Put it to you this way: you find a tree, a sucker tree, probably about say big as a golf ball, about 8-9 foot tall. All of a sudden, about 2 foot up, you see it snap. It's twisted to the left or twisted to the right. That tells you if he's left-handed or right-handed. But if you stand behind that structure and you look forward, stand behind it, and follow the way that branch goes, you look around, you'll find another one, and you'll find another one. You keep following it, it'll take you to birthing area, bedding area, food, water, everything.
Well, you're talking about just following the structures.
Yeah.
Actually, I did a video today talking just about that same thing, and I've noticed that myself. If you follow those structures, you can find a I don't know, I call them playgrounds or hangout areas or whatever.
Yeah.
But you can get into a spot and just tell that they spend a lot of time there.
Now
See how that was twisted?
Yeah. Now this right here, look how hard it's twisted.
Yeah, they rinsed that thing like a rag.
It takes strength.
Oh yeah.
It takes finesse, because what they're doing, they're ripping the meat. They're ripping the meat on the top, but on the bottom, it's like you put it in a vice grip and you clamp it real tight. Then you put crazy glue on it and it locks it in that position. That's what happens when they twist it like that, because they twist and it stays. It's like when they bend a tree over, and it's like say you find. All right, tell you what, go out in your yard to one of your trees and get a branch about big as your pinky, and I want you to take and bend that branch.
It's hard to do. I've tried it. It's hard to do. This tree I'm showing here is as brown as like a Coke can. I mean, that's that took some doing right there.
Yeah, but here's the kicker. I want you to bend it, twist it, and make it stay in that position.
Right. Yeah.
You can't do it. You can even use a maple and cannot do it. It takes strength, but it takes finesse. That's something that people don't realize. That when these creatures do that, it takes strength and takes finesse to make these structures and make these bends and breaks.
I mean, some of the things that I've seen, they have to be real strong. I'll send you a video later. One of our friends, Sissy Lawson, found a tree that was hanging in the air, and it wasn't no little tree. It was just hanging there. But they'll put stuff up, and it's amazing how strong they are. I'm trying to find a.
They are. Ooh, that's a nice one.
Yeah, I mean, look and you can follow these things, and you can find a spot that they hang out a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, that takes some strength to put that limb up in these trees. I mean, I couldn't do it.
I have and behind the Kennedy Fields, I got a 25-foot tree that is crossed between 7 trees, 30 foot up in the air, and the roots are still on that tree. It's an oak tree. They took a pin oak and pulled it out of the ground and shoved it 30 foot up in the air through 7 trees.
Oh. I mean, it's amazing how strong and how fast they are. It's just simply, it blows my mind. Look at this thing. That log there has to weigh what, 600-700 pounds? I mean, that's an oak.
Well, I'll tell you what. I've some of the structures I found had trees in them, like tree leaning against tree. I tried to move it, and I couldn't even budge it.
Have you ever found one shoved in the ground, like upside down?
Yeah, I found one cedar that was like that. They kind of used it for a punching bag and pulled it out of the ground and shoved it back in the ground with the roots up.
Yeah.
I got pictures of. I got pictures of the.
That's. I mean, what else does that? You know.
Nothing.
Nothing. I mean, how can you look at this one now? This I don't know. This log here probably weighed 70 pounds, I'd say, but it's stuck in the ground. I couldn't even pull this out of the ground. It's shoved in so far, and it's cut. I didn't get a good picture at the top. I got a video of this. I'm gonna show later.
Yeah, they do stuff like that.
And then if you look back here, this is I showed you the pictures of the tree weaves that they did a couple weeks ago now, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's right in that same area, and there's a skull back there. Well, what's so neat about it, and I think it's nothing short of a form of communication. Look at this. All right, you got this right here, and then three little sticks underneath of it. This was up by my barn. And today I go back up there where the tree weave was and find this.
Yeah, it's communication.
Look at that. Okay.
Yeah.
By
Now,
the
what does it
barn,
mean?
the same thing. The same thing by the barn. Let me show you this one more picture. This stick right here is shoved in the ground, and a bone is back here. Now look at this. And this is in the same place. You got this one stuck in the ground, and back here's a bone. A skull of it looks like a cow skull, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
So I mean it's like they made a mini structure down here to mirror this structure up here on top of the ridge I found today. And that just blows my I mean that shows intelligence, right?
Yeah, because they're communicating with each other, but we don't know what it means. I mean, from Native Indians, this right here, maybe this is something that they did because through the hieroglyphs, I don't see nothing like that. Even in my area, as far as what the squashes do, but the skulls I found them like that in the ground in my area too sometimes, mainly in one spot, but otherwise than that, I don't see it nowhere else.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like, I've said this a lot, but for instance, at Christmas time, around here, you got families, like my family celebrates Christmas and we got our own little things that we do. And then another family will celebrate, the same holiday, same meaning and everything. And a lot of things are similar, but they do it a little bit different. And I think it's how it is with the clans in different areas. They do a lot of things that's similar, but a lot of things that's different too.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know. It's they're amazing.
Yeah, that's why I say you never stop learning.
No, you don't.
Yeah. And like we got it right now to where we go out. If the weather's good, we'll go out maybe twice a week. Because if you keep going into one area every day, that's going to make them nervous and they're going to leave.
Right.
So we go in there twice a week. But during the summertime, we might go up to the apple orchard and take a trip around there one day, and then we might go by in the camp, spend a couple hours, and come out, and we won't go back in that area for a couple of days, We'll just kind of go different areas, one area at a time, and that way they can see us and do what they watch the juveniles follow, stuff like that, But we don't overstay our welcome because we are going in their bedroom or their house. We are in their house. So you have to show respect.
Do you ever go into West Virginia? And I totally agree with the respect thing.
I used to when I lived over in Highland County, but I ain't been to West Virginia since 87.
Yeah. What do you think they are? I think you've already answered that, but I'm asking questions people were asking.
Yeah, I'm sitting there looking at them.
Oh, okay.
They're through my DNA at National Institute of Health. They're 98% human and Neanderthal. I sent you a picture of a Neanderthal skull with his little girlfriend in front of him.
On Messenger, I guess.
No, the one I sent you them pictures.
Oh, okay.
If you go back to it, I'll show you which one. I'll tell you which one it is.
And
okay. All right. Oh, okay. Go back out here where it says 3 of 14, 12 photos. Go 3 in. From your left to your right, go 3 in. right under it says where it says 314. That first photograph, then you got the second photograph, third, yeah, that one. Now look at this one. You can see the conical of the head. You can see his brow line, his eyes, his nose, and his cheekbones. This is his girlfriend right below it. This guy's 12 foot tall. But you can see the conical head, you can see the brow line, and the big cheekbones, and everything of a Neanderthal.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see the brow ridge on it. And the deep sunken eyes I mean, that's a pretty good picture. How many types do you think there are? Somebody else is asking.
We have two different, well, we got three. We got the ones with the conical head, ones with the Egyptian type skull, and we got the rogues. The rogues have it's kind of between a conical and a oblong. And these guys are solid black. And you see, when you look at them, we've only seen three. We had two in our camp one night. And they come right up to my camp door of my tent. Now, here's the weird thing. As I told you, my pit is 3 foot by 3 foot and 2.5 foot deep. We were burning locusts for 3 days straight. When we went to bed, we had half a stick of locusts left in that fire pit, and actually it was just embers. I heard, and it went black. Got up next morning. I went to light the fire back, and I put my hand out, and I said, "Lamb, it's cold." I run my arm down up to my elbow, and it's like I never had a fire there at all. Now, you explain that to me. And these two guys, there was two of them in my camp, because one of them was right at my door, because they were sniffing the chair that Kanney was sitting in, and they were plucking my parabolic dish. Well, when this guy turned his back, he blocked out my whole door. But those are the carnivores. Now, I talked to Sharon Day about them. She says those are the ones that'll kill and eat their own kind. So that makes the third kind right there that I know of.
They're cannibals?
No, I wouldn't say cannibals. I would say they're very aggressive.
Well, I mean, you said they eat their own kind. That's what, cannibal is. I know a lot of people say that Bigfoot's cannibals, that they eat humans, but that's really not the definition. A cannibal would be like a human eating a human, or a dog eating a dog. That would be a cannibal.
Let's put it this way. This is what was explained to me by the Cherokee shaman. When we see that 20-footer, the only reason he comes down from the mountain is because of lack of food. And if they're hungry, if they see a little squash, they will kill it and eat it too. That's why we had the juveniles up in the tree and all these squatches standing around the camp watching that big one go down the road because all their eyes were bluish gray.
So they were scared of it?
The juveniles were told to go up a tree. Wait a minute. The juveniles were told to go up a tree for safety. The squatches around the camp was to protect the juveniles, and every one of them's color was a bluish gray. And then you had an 18-footer in front of that 20-footer, and they was walking down the road. After about 5 minutes, everything went back to normal. We don't know why, but then the very next day, the Cherokee shaman called us, and he told us who he was. But we're not going to, he said, but don't let anybody know, don't tell them who your source is. And he explained to us exactly what we explained to him. And he gave us an explanation why we seen what we did and everything. Because he saw the video that night. He was watching it too. And he called us the next morning.
Yeah.
And explained to us what the reason for it was.
What do you mean by the Egyptian?
Well, when you look at the skulls or the elongated, there you go. Because the Egyptians, the ones every time I watch a show about the Egyptians, they show the elongated skulls. So
yeah, they
use that
right.
as Yeah, that's why I say the Egyptians.
Well, see down in Peru they found those elongated skulls too, and they like what was his name? The Egyptian pharaoh. I can't think of his name. Tutankhamun or whatever his name. King Tut. He had he had elongated skull.
Right. But if you watch Ancient Aliens, they'll give you blah 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 blah. You know.
Yeah.
Something like that. You know. But the way this shaman explained it to us, you know, he said, you know, yeah, well, I've talked to a couple other, you know, because I got God knows how many Native Indians in our group, you know, and every one of them has explained the same thing.
Well, see, somebody just said head binding, and some of these there are like there was tribes down in South America that did do the head binding, but some of these skulls show no signs of head binding, and there is a difference, and you can see it, the lines that run down the skulls,
Right.
where the skull forms, doesn't show head binding. So some of these are natural, and this, you know, a lot of our history has been hidden from us. She was talking about the ancient aliens, and I think that there's more to it than that. I don't think it was aliens. I think it was the fallen angels, the Nephilim, is where some of these crazy skulls come from.
Yeah, you know, because I'm looking at what you're looking at right now, you know, and the closest that the elongated skulls goes is the, see, 1, 2, 3. Where you got your cursor, 1, 2, 3, the third picture over of that woman.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what the elongated skulls look like on the squatches, as far as on the rogues go.
And I was talking about that DNA that they got down in Peru, and that's the same exact DNA that Melba Ketchum came up with. You know, 90 whatever % human, and the rest was unknown hominid, unknown human hominid. And that, I mean that's got, like I said before, and I'll say it a million times until I know. I don't know what these things are, but there's something to these DNA results. I mean, you can't discount it. Two different DNA results, and I know somebody's going to bring up that Brian Sykes guy, but here's another thing. Look up some of this stuff. Our history. They look up giants that's been found, giant skeletons that's been found just in America. They've been found all over the world. But it's covered up by the Smithsonian, and the government don't want folks to know this. My opinion, and we was talking about it, goes back to money, and I'm sure that has a lot to do with it, money, because you know money's behind a lot of stuff. But I think a lot of it is because it proves the Bible. It proves the Bible accurate.
Yeah, look what happened over in Afghanistan a few years back when these army guys got killed. They killed It was 15 foot tall. He had red hair, light skin. He had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. And he weighed over a ton.
Yeah.
He looked like an Irish Roman, but he was a carnivore. They got that.
Yeah, they sent in a troop, and then that troop disappeared, and they came back, and they could, another troop. They sent in another troop, and they told them guys to shoot at its head, and they could smell like rotten flesh and stuff to where he had killed the other ones, and I think he had a spear or something like that, and you know that.
One of them, he speared a guy's buddy, you know, yeah, like that, you know.
And that thing was back in the remote mountains of Afghanistan. And that's what I'm saying, man. People discount like your 20-footer and 18-footers, but there's all kinds of stories out there about this. And they hide these. Look, I dare anybody to go online and look up giant bones found in America. And they've been found everywhere in America.
Well,
all over the world they've been found. But there's been a lot found, and it's all old newspaper articles on it. And it's all covered up.
Well, the Smithsonian Institute destroyed about 200 giant skeletons that they had at the Smithsonian. They destroyed them because they don't want to change history.
Well, I think because it proves the Bible right is what I think.
Exactly, it does. It proves the Bible right there down to the letter.
I'll tell you what I've been getting into here recently is the Phoenicians. look up the history of the Phoenicians. I think that they might have been the first to come over to America. The Egyptians hired them in. They were a seafaring lot, and they've got ties back to the Canaanites, and the Canaanites in the Bible were giants, a race of giants. And it, there's a story out there about the fallen angels. Whenever they came down to earth, they rebelled against God and came down to earth. They're the ones that gave men the wisdom on to do masonry work, to what's it called, metal work, all that. They gave the knowledge to man. But I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of hidden history out there, and I'd like to know why.
Yeah, because right now Squatches is right in the middle of that mix because they can't figure out why and why they get big as they do. The lady in Washington State, I seen one photograph, and he was 26 foot tall and 6 foot wide from one side to the other on his shoulders. And he was standing at the wood line. She got it. The only picture I've ever seen of one that big. And that's the only time I ever seen she. I got lucky and found it. And I have yet to find it anymore. But they do get big. They do get real big. Just because regular people don't see them doesn't mean they don't exist. If you go research through the Native Indians, you find out that they have records of them up to 30 foot tall. They do get big.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you hear a lot of that.
We got the 20 footer that we seen, first one I ever seen in my life. Then we got Henry and Johnny Henry, 18 footers.
Well, people can go and watch the Freeman footage. That thing is a beast. I mean, that it's probably 15, 16, 17 foot tall. It's a monster.
She was pregnant too, because she picked up a baby. When she disappeared for a few seconds, and he caught her coming back up, she was picking up a baby.
And and going back to how they, people say they disappear and stuff. That thing just stopped. It stood still, and he lost it. He couldn't find it. I mean, it was standing right there, and it's hard to pick out in the video.
Exactly.
But I mean, I don't know.
That's why I tell people that when they say, "Oh, they turned invisible," no, they didn't. I just stepped back or just stopped, like a deer. Look at a bobcat when he goes on a hunt. Every time I go coyote hunting in a certain area, I'll have a bobcat come within 10 feet of me and sit there like a statue all day, and I'll never see it until it moves. He'll be sitting there looking at me right in the open.
Well,
that's how good because they use their fur or Squatch's hair. Their hair is translucent. 90% of the Squatches that people don't see are standing in the open.
Look at this. This is just an owl. I seen something on Facebook today. These are just owls. Look how that blends in.
Let me see here. Yeah, exactly. I was wanting to say, yeah. He's right there. That first one, he's in a fork of a tree or in a hole in the nest of a tree.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, unless you're absolutely looking for it. The one somebody posted on Facebook today. I mean, it was just incredible how well they look at that. Look how well that's blended in. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's just the way they are. I mean, everybody, their feathers, their fur, their hair, everything is meant to blend in. And the Squatch's hair is translucent. And even the hair we got here, you take one piece of hair and put it up against something black, and it'll blend right in.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they make their living. That's how all critters make their living. You got prey. You got predators hunting prey, and both of them's camouflaged in, like you was talking about the cats. I mean, they'll blend right in. I sat down on a log one time, and a little bobcat came in on me, and it was jumping from rock to fallen tree to rock. Never made the first sound, and I watched it because I caught the movement. But whenever it stood still, right out in the open, it was standing still. It was hard to pick out. That sucker came right up. It came within 5 yards of me until I finally said "boo," and it took off then. But it was hunting squirrels.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how they blend in. It's simply amazing.
Yeah, because that's what I tell people. you know, when they have people cannot comprehend that they do that. It's natural. It's a natural instinct for them to stop and stand still in the open. Well, like at one the other day, to stand behind Kanney. We was looking all around the air. We never saw it, but the panoramic caught him standing there 20 feet behind Kanney, just standing there against a tree.
Yeah.
And no, we didn't see it. Now I sent that picture to a buddy of mine last night. He put it on a 46-inch screen TV. He said it was brown. You can see the hair on its belly, and you can see the green in its eyes. And that was pretty clear. But
Yeah.
we did not take a photograph of it. It was on a constant video roll.
Well, there's been times here, man, that I've been fouled out. One made, it sounded like a bull just up there trashing the woods, sticks breaking, and it was huffing at me and grunting and everything else. And it was getting dark, and it was summertime. But it seems like I should have been able to see it, especially at doing all that. And I never seen it. And I've been fouled out before, thinking, I'm being stalked by a coyote or a cat or something, and never do see it. And like you was talking about, I would take 5 steps and stop, and it would take that extra step. You could hear it walking. I was walking on a gravel road one time, and one was parallel on me. It was up on the hill. Every time I would stop, it would stop. I could hear the leaves a crunching. It was crazy. And that's spooky.
Yeah, it's like that first picture you showed. When I was making videos, I'm going to take 9.5 steps. And that squatch is going to take that one extra step. And when I stopped and I turned, the only reason I turned because I heard that one extra step, and when I did, I caught that one dropping.
All right.
But now they don't do that all the time. They, in my area, got mountain laurel, so they did it. He got in position to watch me, but I couldn't see him, but he could see me and everything. We're still learning.
Yeah, one of my first pictures I got, we was being stalked or followed, I guess I should say. But my friend had actually seen movement up on the ridge line, and I was taking a picture of a tree that was being around other trees and twisted around and everything else. And I found it in the picture later, back peeking out behind a tree. It was a peaker. But we could hear it up there moving, but we never could see it. She seen movement, but she couldn't see what it was exactly till later in that picture. But it's amazing how they blend in.
Oh, oh man, y'all see? I've had one stand within 6 feet of me one day, but it was snowing, and it was snowing or drizzling, sleeting, and it was foggy. I walked right by him. The only reason I knew he was there, I got home and I downloaded the video, and someone says, "Hey, you got a squad 6 feet from me." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Go back to this point." I did. And sure enough, I was walking, and I was just panning the camcorder, and I wasn't looking left or right. I was just walking down the trail, going back to my Jeep, and I caught him, but I never did see him. And he was 6 feet from me. And I never think the camcorder got him, but I didn't see him.
I don't know. Have you ever had like infrasound or anything like that used on you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, big time.
I think
I've had them, Paul Halsey. Matter of fact, in that same video, the one where I caught the family back in 13, I asked 2 questions. And I don't know if it's infrasound or ultrasound. I don't know the difference between them. But Paul said when I said, "Y'all stole my jars, and where you at?" When I said, "Where are my jars?" they said, "It's here." When I said, "Where you at?" they said, "We're here." Now Paul picked that up. And I can't remember if he said it was infrasound or ultrasound. I don't know he said, but he picked it up in that video. I asked 2 questions, and that was right before I saw the family unit.
See, I've had it happen here before, and the first time it happened, it sounded like a low. You know how a plane will sound, a low droning plane, one that's just not going very fast, like that. And then I've had it happen to where I mean it makes you sick to your stomach and a bit dizzy. And I think it's a younger one that's doing it to me. I've actually caught this on like I've got it recorded, and you could hear it. But I've heard people say that they never hear a thing, and that I've heard people say it can't be picked up on cameras or microphones. But it's on my recording. But it makes you.
I'll let Connie explain that part of it because she's better at it than I am. What's that? The ultra infrasound. Oh, being zapped and stuff. Oh, being zapped and that. Basically, a lot of times being zapped, if you're getting zapped, you've got empathic abilities. They can pick up on that. And what they're trying to do is they're either trying to mind speak to you or if they're pissed off about something, they'll zap you just to zap you, just to get you out of there. But most of the time, it's trying to speak to you through images or through speaking.
I don't know. Whenever that done that to me, it just made me sick to my stomach and dizzy. I didn't like it.
And what is you're empathic, but your abilities aren't strong enough to pick it up.
I don't want nothing to do with any of that. Just to be honest with you. Anything that I got enough craziness in my head.
Because I've had it happen when I first started. I know I was an empath, but my abilities weren't that strong, and they used to do me the same way. And the more I hung around them, the stronger my abilities got. And then they got to where they were showing me images. And then here recently, they just started mind speaking to me.
See, I don't want if that ever happens to me, I think I'll be done. I mean, I've heard people talk about the mind speaking stuff before, and I can't really discount anything anymore. And there is a lot of I mean, I watched a video the other day about a woman that came in, and a guy had rescued a panther, I think it was, from a zoo in Britain, and had it. I think he was in Australia, and he rescued it and came, and that cat would not let anybody get around it. And actually, the guy had tried to do something, and the cat somehow got a hold of him and was about killed him. But anyway, they had some woman came in that said that she can communicate with animals, and that woman came in, and that cat settled right down, and it was pretty crazy. Actually, I think Todd Standing had that video. I watched that video, and that was pretty crazy. So I mean, I don't know about the whole mind speak deal. I'm not sure if I believe it, but
some people can naturally block it. Apparently, you can naturally block yours.
Well, I don't want them in my head.
That's why you always get sick.
Yeah, I mean, it physically it made me. I had to sit down because I started getting dizzy, and this has happened to me a couple times now. I started getting dizzy and like nauseous to my like I'm getting ready to throw up or something. It was crazy.
Well, I can tell you the trick how to make them stop it. All you gotta do.
I told them to stop one time.
When you start feeling sick, get a stern tone to your voice, like you're talking to a child that's doing something wrong, and tell them to stop it. That they're hurting you, they're making you sick, and it's not nice. And they'll listen, and they'll stop doing that.
I actually did do it. The last time that they done that to me, I told them not to do it, and they did. They did stop. I mean, the first time I had no effect, and this has been a couple years ago. Then the second time, it just whenever I walked away. I mean, I had to go sit down. It made me sick. And then the third time, it started making me. And I told them to stop because I mean, you could actually hear this on the recording. I was live at the time.
Yeah, because I've had them do me that way, and all I do is to tell them to stop. But apparently, what it is with your watching, yours is like mine in Kentucky, generational.
What does that mean? That they stay on the same piece of property?
Yes.
Generation, yeah. Well, Papa used to talk about the woods boogers. He called them woods boogers. And whenever I was young, and he would tell me to stay around the house at night during dusk and stuff. And I'm just wondering what he knew. I mean, there's a few things that's happened to me.
I think he knew a lot about them and didn't say that. He's like my daddy was. My dad knew about them and never told me nothing about them. I learned on my own.
Yeah. I kind of wish I would have asked more about it now, but I thought it was like a scare tactic back then. But now that I think back, I mean, I know I've been out berry picking before and rocks got thrown and stuff like that, and just different, followed out of the woods before. I used to camp out in these rock houses, and I remember camping in them before and rocks being thrown in, and I thought they was falling from the ceiling or something. It was great. Have y'all ever seen any orbs? Somebody asked if you ever seen any orbs.
Me, I've seen orbs. I've seen orbs a lot.
What do you think
But
those
they don't
are?
I've never seen them around when Bigfoot was around though.
I see. I've never seen those. I did see a blue light the other night, and I don't know if that was eye shine or what that was. It was only for like a couple seconds too.
Yeah, it could have been eye shining. And then it could have been a orb too. I know at Fred's camp, we camp at all the time, there's paranormal activity there.
See, that's one thing I don't get into is the paranormal. I've picked up voices and stuff on my out walking around and picked up voices, and I've seen two ghosts. I've seen a woman all in white, and both of this happened at a friend's house back in Logan, and then a dog. It was a ghost. Both of them was ghost spirits, and I don't want nothing to do with that.
I used to be in paranormal for 20-something years until I had my first Bigfoot sighting. And then I quit the paranormal and went to Bigfoot.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what would creep me out about the whole mind speak thing. How do you know that's not like a demon or something messing with you?
Me, I can pretty well tell the difference. I can tell by the energy in that.
But I mean, demons are not known to be truthful.
Well, I can. With the I'm an empath. I can tell if something's lying or if it's telling the truth. So it's pretty easy for me to figure out.
So, what does empath mean? I'm not even sure what that means.
An empath is basically we're like psychics. We're basically like a psychic medium. We can read people. We can tell if a person's lying or telling the truth. We can tell you what about them, everything. Plus, if you get in a crowded room with other people, we pick up on all their emotions and that, and we have to get out of the room.
Really?
It affects us.
That would freak me out.
I've been like this since as long as I can remember. So it really doesn't scare me none.
Yeah, but I mean,
for somebody that doesn't know they're that and find out they are, it would freak them out.
Yeah, that would definitely freak me out. I would think it was a demon or something.
Yeah, because when I'm an empath, I can see ghosts, I can hear them, I can talk to them, and they can talk back to me. Everything. It's crazy. But I try to block that out when I'm doing my squatches.
See,
I concentrate on them.
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of verses in the Bible about familiar spirits, and they, some of them could be. Well, I mean, I think it's demonic.
Yeah. There's some that are demonic.
Have you ever fooled with anything like that?
The demonic ones avoid me like the plague.
Yeah.
For some reason, demonic ones don't mess with me. I've encountered demonic ones, but they've always run from me.
So you say you can tell the difference between the vibes or whatever?
Yeah, I can tell the difference.
I don't know, man. I don't think I would want any kind of mind speak. I swear I wouldn't. That would freak me out, Connie. That would freak me out.
The only time I use my empath now is when I'm out squatching, because I can pretty well pick up where the squatches are, what direction they're in, how many's there, and everything.
So when they talk to you, what do they talk in English?
Let's see. When Swift one and Moon are the only ones that's talking to me right now. The other ones would show me images in my head. Yeah. And then today, well, that was the image I got in my head
we found out what Moon's brother's name was. His name is Little Turtle.
He's the one. He's the one we got.
He's the one that we got the picture of standing behind me.
Oh, here, the other day?
Yeah. That's Little Turtle.
See, I haven't been on Facebook in a couple of days now. It's been busy around here.
Yeah, it's I know the other was it only the other day that Facebook crashed. So it was the day before that. Because Facebook crashed and we couldn't get on that the other day. Well, hardly anybody could get on the other day. No, actually, we was out that day.
So you got property over in Kentucky?
Yeah, my family, we got about 300 acres, and the swatches in my area in Kentucky are generational.
So they're like year round, and they've been there for a while.
They never leave the property because they've come up to my house. Before I left Kentucky to come to Virginia, there was a big 8-foot white one. And, when I seen it, it was dark, but I had to look toward my living room window to look outside. When I did, I caught him, a big white one, walking away from my window. Caught his back as he was walking away.
How long? What got you into Bigfoot?
I was interested. I used to watch the Bigfoot shows there, but I never believed that there was any on the East Coast. And then back in 2011, I'd come home from my sister's. It was just starting to get dark. It wasn't completely dark yet. And I pulled in my driveway. I wasn't far from where I parked my car. And my house is surrounded by woods. We're surrounded by woods. And to my right, I caught movement at the edge of the woods. My headlights caught it. And as soon as I was able to see it, all I see from the waist down was 2 big hairy legs, reddish brown. So I happened to look up past where the headlights was hitting, and I could see the outline of it. And all I saw was 2 big red glowing eyes staring at me. I just sit in the car in shock and watched it walk along the edge of the woods calmly. He walked, I could see him walking, and he walked like Patty did. I watched him until he disappeared, and as soon as he disappeared, I was on the internet looking at Bigfoot groups because I had to tell somebody what I saw. He was every bit 9 foot tall.
Yeah. And that was what'd you say, 2011?
Yeah.
Do you still go back to that property? Is it still in your family?
Yeah, it's still in the family. We got it posted and everything now.
Yeah.
We got security cameras around the whole property, around the property lines, all the way around it. It's monitored by the state police, the fish and game department, plus my family keeps track of because we had poachers going in there poaching deer.
Yeah.
So it's security cameras all around the property, and it's monitored 24/7 now.
Did you ever get Bigfoot on them?
I don't know if they do. They won't say, the game department that won't say nothing. In the family, they tell me that they see them every now and then walking by.
See, I've got security cameras out here. They're not hooked up. And like I was saying earlier, I got game cameras put up, and I put the game cameras up, and the activity here, they don't slap the house or pick on my window and stuff like that anymore since I put the game cameras up. And I'm kind of leery of hooking the security cameras up just because of that. I mean, it's pretty interesting to have them, as long as they stay, away from the house and don't bother my pets.
You know how you told them to stop zapping you? Set up boundaries with them. Go out there and talk to them. Tell them it's okay to come around, but do not come around the house. Do not hit on the house or anything like that, and they'll stay away.
Yeah, I think it's a respect thing, and I've asked them to stay away and stuff. I mean, there's been times that I can ask them to make a noise or do something, and they'll throw a rock and hit the tin roof, and that's about the extent of it now. Or they'll do a whoop or a pop or something like that. But
I know in my area, mine were vocal 24/7.
Yeah, it got wild here whenever it first started. Man, it was wild here, and then I've learned that it's more of a respect thing. Hey, D. Doss brings up a point, and he says that there's no way I'd see or listen to a non-physical being without testing it in Jesus' name. Have you ever done that with the mind speak?
No,
Because I wonder how they would react to that.
no telling. No telling for sure.
I think
'Cause
I would.
don't.
Are you spiritual? Are you a Christian woman?
Yeah, I'm spiritual.
You're
Yeah,
God fearing.
I'm Christian.
I mean, maybe ask him that, Connie. Because I mean, I'm worried it might be something else messing with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, try that. See what happens. That would be.
Cause I know I've had so many sightings of these things that ain't funny. And I've been inches from the face of one.
Yeah.
Which was fun that night.
What's a Bigfoot?
That's another thing that we won't take us.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it was that night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
See,
We were laying there in the tent, and I'm laying up against the back of the tent, and the back of it, and all of a sudden this little teeny felt like a little 4-year-old kid taking his fist, and just ever so slightly pushing in on my kidneys. So I told Connie to trade me places, and she felt the same thing. We had one juvenile that hung around that tent that night, and it was loud.
I was talking to a woman, and I would love to. I haven't seen her in the chat tonight, and I don't know if she's on here or not. But she was camping one time, and a juvenile, Bigfoot, tried to get in the tent with her, and she wouldn't let it in the tent, and it ended up sleeping beside the tent. It's a crazy story, but I mean, she's told me other things that I know she's not telling me a tale. I mean, it's pretty interesting. I'd love for her to tell some of her stories.
Cause that night, it was the same night that one was pushing on us. We left the tent door open because it was hot, and I woke up sometime later that night and went to zip the tent up. When I did look up, I was just inches from touching noses with this juvie squatch. I just looked at it, it looked at me, and I just went ahead and zipped the tent up and went back to sleep. Next morning, I told Fred about it. He said, "Why didn't you wake me up?" I said, "All I was worried about was going to sleep."
So what did it look like?
He looked just like a normal child, in the face, just glowing green eyes.
So it like a pudgy face? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a little kid.
Human face.
Basically a normal human child face.
Well, see, and I've heard that before too, and I've heard about like whenever they get older, they get that more chiseled features to them, kind of like Native Americans.
Yeah.
I've heard that also. So
about everyone I've seen in the face to me has looked like a normal human.
Exactly.
Everyone I've seen.
In my area too. Look at Henry.
But I do know you can win their trust enough to where they'll protect you.
well, I think it's a respect thing, and like going back, they don't slap the house and stuff anymore. I'm about ready to take my game cameras down again just to see if they do come back, or if because it's like they don't do that, and I'm hoping it's a respect thing because they haven't really bothered none of my critters or anything here lately since I kind of laid down the law, and basically all I did was talk to them.
Well, that's all you got to do. As long as you talk to them, you can take your game cameras down now. They should respect you now.
Well, I mean, I hope so, but that'd be a heck of a test to see if what they do.
They're not gonna hurt you.
No, they ain't gonna hurt you. That's for sure.
I don't trust them. I don't trust them at all. But I don't really trust a lot of stuff.
That's why they got those little spots set up to watch you when you come out your door.
Right, but
the time you come out, the time you go back in, you got eyeballs on you.
Most of the time they stay pretty far away. Like I've got one on the closest they usually get now is about 20 yards whenever they do get kind of close. The last time they did anything was whenever I took this game camera off this window here, and they started pecking on that window again, and they actually pushed the window in one time because I had a.
Here's what I want you to do. When you go outside, you say Ocio Aganate. What you're saying is, hello, my friend. every day, and that's when you go outside on better. When you go up in the woods, just say "Ocio Aganate." You're saying hello, my friend. That's all you got to do. Just say that in native tongue, and you'll start getting responses. They won't do it. They won't respond right off the bat, but they will start to respond. They'll make some kind of a noise to acknowledge that they recognize you.
Yeah, well, somebody else has given me some words, and I've got responses from them too. And I'm not sure what language it is, but I mean they've actually repeated it here before, and but I'll try that. I mean,
most of it is ancient Cherokee dialect. Like when I first started doing, I was saying "Ocio Iya Niha," which means hello. I mean you no harm. Well, I mean hello. I'm your friend, and I mean you no harm. Now I'm saying "Ocio Oshikwasu Aganate," which is hello. How are you, my friend?
Yeah.
And they start responding in one way or another.
Yeah, I'll definitely try it. I mean, what's tripping me out and was the thing that happened down at the barn, the pictures I was showing a while ago, and I mean that's just a form of communication, and I think I'm going to try what you're saying. I mean, I'll try it. I'll try anything once about anything, not anything, but
yeah, but when you go outside, say, "Oh, Aganate," you're saying hello, my friend. You're letting him know, hey, I'm telling you, hello, I know you're there, hello, and it might take a week or so, but they will start to respond either by sound or by wood knock, letting you know that, hey, we understand you.
I'm going to try it. I'll probably go out here in a few minutes and listen because I think they're definitely on the property because there's new stuff going on up here on the hill.
Okay.
But Fred, you got anything else you want to add? Heck, we've been on here 3 hours just about. Don't seem like it's been that long. But
no, I'm about yakkered
out. I hear you, man. I appreciate y'all coming on and sharing.
Anytime, brother. Like I say, go outside and say, "Ocio Aganate." Ocio means hello. Aganate means my friend. Once you say that, you're gonna stop there and you're like, wait a minute. He just said something we recognize.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely try it and see what happens. So,
just go out every day when you go out, even if you're going out to the bar and say, "Ocio Aganate," and just keep on going what you're doing. All you're doing is saying, "Hello, how are you, my friend?" That's all you're doing.
That's Cherokee, right?
Huh?
That's Cherokee. Which the Cherokee were in this area also, but I mean there was a couple. The Mingo tribe was in this area.
Yeah, it's ancient Cherokee dialect. It's language that has been spoken in over 1,000 years. It's not modern. It's not modern Cherokee. It's ancient Cherokee.
Oh yeah.
Like if you say the modern language for the modern Cherokee for OCO, it's just EO. That's the modern. The ancient is OCO. O/C. Let's see. OCYO. OCO. Which means hello in ancient dialect language. And Aganate means my friend.
Yeah, I'll definitely try it, man.
No matter what you do, if you go outside, just walk around and say, "Ocio Aganate." And each day you go out, or you might go out one day and say, "Ocio, Oshikwasu Aganate." You just added, "How are you?" Then Aganate, my friend.
Well, like I said, someone else shared some other things with me, and we have got responses with that here. And I mean, yeah, I'll definitely try it.
Yeah, because the more you start doing that, the more they're gonna get used to you, and they're gonna start. And when you say it, they're gonna in one way or another they will respond. And when they respond, you know that they recognize what you're saying. And they're saying, and here's the thing about it. Connie told me that when I started speaking ancient Cherokee in my area, Swift ones said, "Thank you for speaking the old language," because they can speak the English, but that's new language to them. So the ancient language is what they prefer. That's why I go in and speak the old language. And I'm learning, like anybody else, I'm learning the language myself, and I'm using it as I'm going. Like today, Little Turtle, his name is Mishi Nakwa. That means Little Turtle, which is, I think Jenny Christian said it was a spiritual name or something like that.
Yeah, I'll definitely try it, man. And again, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everyone for joining in chat and everyone for being respectful. I'll go ahead and end the live stream, but I'll stay on the phone with you, Fred. Anybody interested? I put Fred's Facebook and his YouTube channel in the link. And Connie's got a YouTube channel also, don't she?
Yeah, I can't remember what hers is. My YouTube channel is Freddy59100. It's like all one word.
Okay. Well, I found it. I got yours in the link. But
okay. Now, if you want to go to my tidbits, go to my timeline and punch on photos. When you punch on photos, it'll bring you to my photos. Then go to my video files. Punch on old videos or albums, whatever. Punch on that, and it's got every tidbit I've ever did, all the way to today.
All right. Well, I've got the links in the description. I appreciate everyone for joining. And thanks to Fred and Connie. Maybe we'll have you back on.
All right.
Everybody else, have a good night. Fred, I'll talk to you here in a second.
Okay.